All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to episode, what is this, 33 for our book club series on Wizard and Glass. We're chugging along. We've got two more this year, or this one and one more this year.
Yeah,
So
this one and
this-
one.
yeah.
This one in the next episode. Actually, we should say that.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get the podcast side started. And yeah, we can start with all those announcement type things. Let's hit it.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, and the extended Stephen King universe. But of course, that is irrelevant on a book club episode because here we are diving directly into the text, going at it line by line, and we are currently most of the way through the fourth book in the series. So I think we figure that it's going to be somewhere in like the April realm, probably April, May would be my guess, April-ish probably, when we actually finish this book and move on to the next one. But yeah, we've been at this one for a long time now. But yeah, and my name is Tad,
And I'm Peter.
and yeah, we're here for Wizard and Glass number 33. So gotta love that.
I don't know what's wrong with Google right now with YouTube. They are messing up everyone's names.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look at my name. My name's all messed up too. It's got a number on the end of it in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, something's up with them for sure. Yeah, that is strange. I mean, I guess mine's fine because I'm just the show. So
Yeah. Yeah, mine usually doesn't have a number on the end of it. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know. Google must be drunk. So
Sounds about right.
let's go ahead and hit the old intro stuff real quick. Peter did mention just before we started the podcast side, when we were on the YouTube side alone, that yes, we are, because of the year-end bash, we are going to have, this will be 2 episodes in a row for book club episodes. So this episode in a fortnight from now, when we come back at you, we'll have our final book club episode for 2025. So yeah, back-to-back action, and then the year-end bash, and that'll send us off into 2026, which like I said, the math, roughly, we are a smidge off, but I don't think it's enough off to actually, I'd originally sectioned it out, but I made some mistakes. I can't imagine the mistakes I made are enough to actually throw it off an entire episode. So if so, then yeah, April is when we'll wrap up this book. So.
Also, just a heads up, the year-end bash episode might be moving time and or
yes.
date.
No, correct. Yes,
Depending
it will
on,
be.
I don't remember which one we decided on.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to go do it Friday.
Friday. The
Yeah.
19th instead of the 20th.
Yeah. So our Christmas party for the first time in my 12 years of working for the company is suddenly on a Saturday. They've always been on Fridays before, so it's kind of a random thing.
Kind of threw us a curveball a little bit when they sent out the email because they said Friday the 20th, but Saturday is the 20th. So we were confused.
Yeah, so we are we will move that one a day early, and we will, I think the idea was we might start an hour later, so it might be a little bit closer to like when people are off work, hopefully. It's still kind of midday for us, but so it'll probably move up, just both episodes will move up or back an hour, so we'll start at 3, or for our time, 3 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock. So whatever time it is for you now, if you're watching live, we'll be there an hour later in December 19th. So
yeah, the year-end bash, and of course it's fitting the 19th.
Yeah,
right?
19th, that works. Also, it is 11/22 today.
It's 11/22/63.
Got to stop without saying 63 though, because it's certainly not 63.
It's 11/22/63's anniversary today.
Yes,
there you go.
That's true. That's true. So that feels relevant to point out for a Stephen King show. So let's go ahead and dive on in. We're not going to do a spoiler warning. We do have a spoiler section in our book club episodes. With our book club episodes, we stay where we're at or before, we don't jump ahead. So these are the safe episodes to listen to if you've not finished the entire series. The spoiler section is at the very, very end of the episode. We will give you an audio warning as well as the screen itself will change. So you will be fully aware that that's coming. So if you've not finished the entire series, we can, and in fact, I guess what I have in the spoiler section this time is more a spoiler for this book, more so than the entire series. I don't know if you put anything in there or not, but
just expanding on the one that you put.
Okay, so yeah, we wouldn't, even in the spoiler section this time, we're not going to be spoiling anything outside of this book, but in the spoiler section, we will jump ahead at just a smidge. Yeah, so these are safe episodes for you on that end. And then if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any podcasting service of your choice. If you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. And then over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver, we are here live every other week. Every fortnight. You can join us for the live streams. You can watch old live streams. We are also doing short content as well. So subscribe over there and get some fun little short videos from Peter and myself. And of course, like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. So for things like the year-end bash that's moving or whatever, the notifications are definitely a thing that help. And like and subscribe. Otherwise, Peter gets lightning teeth from Blaine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yes,
that's...
please don't let that happen. Yeah, we went early last week a little bit as well, and someone commented, I think it was Baraki, was like, hey, I didn't get a notification. That's why those notifications are important.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't actually send the notification, then that's on YouTube. But hopefully,
I mean,
the
way that YouTube's acting right now, I'm guessing it's their fault.
Yeah, it's getting a little glitchy in its old age here.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we ended up starting early last episode because we knew it was going to be a full episode with 2 top 10 lists to cover at the same time. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. We don't have show notes for the book club episodes, but with on the website you can find all things Dark Tower Palaver. Links to everything that we have you can find it over there. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. At any level of the Patreon support levels, you get access to our monthly hangouts. You get access to our Discord server where you could chat with us all the time, as well as if you're at the highest level, you can also co-host a show with us. And then if you want to contact the show, Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Best way to reach the show is email. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. You can also find us on our social medias. We have Threads and Instagram. It's darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then our Blue Sky account is at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then we're also on Twitter. It's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then we have facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want some merchandise, go to tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. Get yourself a #TasTerrible sticker, t-shirt, pillow, hat, notebook, poster.
All of it slanderous.
All of it true.
True. Slanderous stuff.
Every time I read my intro stuff, you throw emojis in the chat. It's just come to be expected.
I added a new one there this time.
The cat. With the heart eyes.
The heart eyes. Musty likes the action.
No, Musty does not. Don't slander Musty like that. That cat's got enough problems.
Oh, man. All right, so we are jumping on into part 3, which is, of course, Come Reap, which is where we've been for quite a while. There are 4 parts to this book. The 2 parts on the very end, the very first one and the last one, are back in our quote-unquote present, and then the 2 middle ones, part 2 and part 3, are Roland's flashback story. We are fast approaching. The part 2 and part 3 both had 10 chapters total, and at the end of this episode, we are going to finish chapter 9. So we are coming right along on the Roland story here. And then we are, again, chapter 9, which is titled Reaping, and we are starting at subchapter 18. So we pretty much, it feels like the last 2 episodes have been very much, building the tension, setting the stakes for everything that's coming. Susan's been captured, sent back to Mayor's house. With Reynolds, and he was told to use her if he wanted to. Rhea was also sent away, had the ball stripped of her. And yeah, I mean, we pretty much have just set the table ultimately for
Jonas. It is worth noting that Jonas had a small party, circled back because of Rhea, captured Susan, and waited for the large party. then sent Reynolds and Rhea and Susan away. Rhea separately from Susan and Reynolds.
Yeah.
And now Jonas is continuing on to Hanging Rock, which takes him through the rest of the bad grass and out into the desert.
Yeah, which is where Farson's men are at.
The Farson's men are at with the tankers.
Yeah.
And we know that Roland, Cuthbert, and Alain are laying in wait.
Yes. So that's where we left off. Let's go ahead and jump on into subchapter 18.
All right. At first, Reynolds was good with a pace of a fast walk going down the broken back trail. After 30 minutes of leaving Jonas, he upped it to a trot. And then 10 minutes later, he upped it even more to a light but steady run. Pylon easily kept pace, and Susan held the horn of her saddle with her bound hands and rode easily on Reynolds' right. Her hair streamed out behind her, and she thought her face must be quite colorful. The skin on her cheeks felt swollen, welted, and tender. Even the wind stung a little. And I gotta pause here, my first note. I've never had given much thought to how hard they must have hit her to make it so that the wind hurts her face. It's not exactly like freezing cold. Cold air can make your face hurt, right?
Yeah.
Riding is just going to be kind of a gentle breeze. I know it's like reaping time. It's at the end of the year, but it's not this late. Like now, walking out to my car today to come to your house, I was like, oh, there's a definite chill in the air.
Yeah.
I got in my car, looked at the thermostat, and it's 50 degrees. I'm like, that's not that cold.
Yeah.
But going from a hot apartment to a cold outside can have that effect. But here her cheeks are so tender that just a gentle breeze hurts and stings like it's like cold air.
Yeah, Jonas knocked her on her ass.
He knocked her almost out. Yeah.
Yeah, and almost knocked her out. Could have killed her. She thought if he was an inch, lower or whatever it was, like she thought it probably would have broke her neck and killed her. And then the second time she was hit, it wasn't hard enough to knock her down, but it was a good hit.
Yeah, so it just never registered. I always think of it as like the slap that they usually throw at women in movies and stuff like that. Like they hold their cheek for a second, but then when they take their hand away, they're perfectly fine. There's no mark even.
Yeah.
That is not the case here.
Yeah. It's pretty rare to see film actually leave marks.
Right.
I mean, for anyone, not just women, but men too. You see these action guys that get in these fights and stuff, and at the end there's no bruising, no swelling.
No,
it's
of course not.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have them, bruised up and everything covering up the good looks. I mean, that's what you're paying for, right?
I mean, unless it's Stallone. David says Reynolds keeps increasing his pace so he can outrun his inevitable sexuality. Oh man! And then my note: Clay is getting nervous. It seems the further they're moving away, the faster he's going.
Yeah,
so
he does.
I think we got to remember too. He's the younger of the set, so probably the one that's probably the least experienced of the three. And there's just probably an element of as he gets nervous, I don't know. He's probably going to be able to deal with it less than the other two.
I'm not going to lie. I would get nervous being out there by myself.
Under the demon moon.
Especially being all superstitious like that. Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of makes sense, right?
I mean, he's supposed to be a hard case, though.
I mean, supposed to be.
Stupid superstitious bastard.
I mean, all of them are basically, right?
Although in this world, maybe it pays to be superstitious.
I mean, right?
Let's be honest.
I mean, bad things happen under the demon moon.
Yes. I mean, we have witches, we have demons, we have machines possessed by spirits, which I don't think we've actually seen in this story.
Yeah.
But Roland mentioned that in the first book, and we were both like, wait, what? I mean,
wait, demons possess humans, not
inanimate objects.
Machines.
Yeah,
it's like,
machines.
Wait, what?
I mean, Christine shows us how terrifying that could be.
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah, it is pretty terrifying. Yeah. Imagine a big, what do you call them, harvester or combiner, those giant fucking things that are the size of a small house that just fucking destroy.
Yeah.
Imagine one of those being possessed.
They have that in one of the Pixar movies, Cars, where they go cow tipping and they're tipping over tractors. Well, the harvester is the bull.
Oh.
And so they're running from the harvester, and it's just trying to grind them up and everything like that. So that's instantly what comes to my mind when you say that.
Yeah.
Because it seems kind of alive and it's just growling and everything.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So going on, at the place where the bad grass gave way to the drop, Reynolds stopped to give the horses a break and to relieve himself. While he had his back turned, Susan looked up at the great herd, now unattended and unraveling at the edges. They had done that. They had done that much, perhaps. It wasn't as much, but it was something. And I like that line, the great herd coming unraveled at the edges, is Susan happy about how they have saved the horses.
Yeah.
I mean, she's always loved horses, growing up with her dad and everything like that. So
Yeah.
nice to see her have one little small victory on this bad day.
Yeah.
Reynolds asks if Susan needs to do the necessary, and if so, he will help her down, but warns her not to say no and then whine about it later. And she says, quote, "You're afraid. Big brave regulator that ye are. Ye're scared, ain't ye? Aye, coffin tattoo and all." And Reynolds tries to pass off her contemptuous grin, but it didn't fit his face this morning. He tells Susan to leave the fortune-telling to those who are good at it, and does she need to go or not. She tells him no, and again asks what he is afraid of. Reynolds, who had a bad feeling since splitting off from Jonas, there's the timeline for when he started feeling hinky, bared his teeth at her and said, "If you can't talk sensible, just shut up." Susan says, "Why don't you just let me go? Perhaps when my friends catch us up, they will do the same for you." This time Reynolds laughed, and it was almost genuine. He swung up into his saddle, hawked, spat, and said, "You can dream, Miss Cy. Dreaming is free, but you ain't ever going to see those three again. They're for the worms, they are. Now let's ride." And they rode.
And that's the end of the subchapter. I love Clay playing the dad on the road trip at the rest stop. You better go now because we're not stopping later.
Yeah,
That just feels very...
Oh, yeah.
And every one of us that's been on a road trip has heard that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I have to imagine, the way kids are, that's probably a fair thing for the dad to say.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah. So, but that's the vibe I got when I'm hearing him ask her if she wants to go to the bathroom or not.
Because there's that inherent nature of the dad where it's like, okay, it's 2 hours there. I'm going to get there in an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they say, as soon as you're done with the rest up, you get back on the freeway and it's like, "Dad, I got to go." It's like, no.
Yeah. Or the dad's the one that's driving, so he's figured out the cars that he's passed, and he's now lost.
Watching them all pass them at the rest stop.
So now it's a matter of taking back over and beating those.
Again, yeah.
That's we all of us that have driven on those trips now as adults. We all know that. We just didn't know our dads were playing that game.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and now it's even worse with GPS because I have an actual time.
Yeah,
your arrival at 2:00. It's like 1:45 at the most, and then it's like. You slowly watch it start ticking down as you're getting closer, and it's like, am I going to make it? Yes!
Yeah.
I did it. My note here, Susan sensing Reynolds' unease, nervousness, fear. I was curious, what would you call it here?
I think unease or nervousness. It says he had a bad feeling. I'm not sure that's really fear, but I think those things can be easily misinterpreted as fear from Susan's perspective,
Sure.
right? Like her calling him out, saying that you're afraid. I think unease, and I don't know. I guess there's kind of a gray area of how much difference is there between unease and nervousness and fear. But I would interpret more as I don't know. I having a bad feeling, I guess, can be fearful. But I feel like in general, I don't see it as fear. It feels like it's usually more like nervousness or unease, whatever. I don't know. It's I always think like horses, right? When horses get nervous because maybe there's a beast nearby, that's different than fear. When the werewolf appears in the campsite and the horses start bolting and screaming and shit, that's fear. But unease, I think, is a level before that. And so I guess that's
making them feel unease. It's something to be notated and to pay attention to, but it's not necessarily blind panic.
Yeah.
Bolt in every direction kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she makes it sound like that kind of. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah.
David says unease would be a good word for it. He also says, of course, Clay Reynolds wants to stop at a truck stop. He would.
Oh man, him and his cape, right?
I know, right?
All right. So then my notes, my other note here I think Susan is writing checks that Roland the boys won't cash. Even if he lets her go, I don't think there's any way that they don't kill him. Right? I just don't see that. There's no way. They're killing his ass. Even if she tried to stop them, where it's like, hey, no, he let me go, he helped me out, whatever.
Roland would be like, hey, that's nice, bang.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, especially Roland, right?
Yeah,
he's a guy that we've discovered we can't even trust with people that he cares about, let alone an enemy that
people he claims that he loves.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my last note there. Also, I don't know if you saw my note in the chat there.
There's a monkey movie coming in January. Peter is no, I am not. I am not seeing that movie.
Oh, a chimp that gets rabies. That's just sounds like a great movie there. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
No, for you it is. I'm not going. I've seen enough of that chimp already.
I love it. Can't wait. All right, moving over to subchapter 19. So joining up with Cordelia here. just as we all wanted to do. We've all been wondering about Cordelia. So Cordelia had not gone to bed all of Reap Eve. She sat up all night in her parlor chair, and she had sewing in her lap, but she had not done a single thing with it all night. As morning rose, she remained sitting, looking out into nothing. What was there to look? What was there to look at? Everything had gone to shit. All of her hopes of the fortune that Thorne would pay for Susan and Susan's child, either while he was alive or in his dead letter. That's a fun turn of phrase there. Dead letter for will.
Yeah.
Her hopes of ascending to her proper place in the community, all of her plans, all swept away by two kids who couldn't keep it in their pants. She still had the ashes on her cheek that Susan had smeared on, standing on her face like a brand. She then thought that someday they would find her dead in this chair, old, poor, and forgotten. She thought that ungrateful child, after all, she had done this. After all the child had done for her. So the fact that Eve and Reaping Eve is capitalized shows that this is a full-blown holiday. It isn't just like calling it the Eve of Reap, which would be lowercase, right? Like Reap would be capitalized, but Eve wouldn't be. The fact they're
Christmas Eve.
It's like versus like Thanksgiving Eve, like that's not a real thing. So it'd be exactly. So it's a small thing, but again, I don't think I ever would have noticed it until now. The fact that is capitalized is like, okay, so that's a proper thing. So it's like Christmas Eve type thing. So again, that probably adds a little bit more to the whole idea they built this entire novel of what reaping is. It's pretty much the big event for the year. So Parlor is never not going to remind me of Fran's mom from The Stand.
Oh yeah.
So, and this fits contextually here with Cordelia.
Yeah.
I think if we do a re-examining of the finals of the most hated after this book club, this might be a very big piece of evidence. I mean, we get the sense that Cordelia's motivation, we get the sense of her motivations throughout this book, but never really stated this baldly. You know, basically like, right, so she was basically counting on the fortune that Thorne was going to pay for Susan and Susan's child so that basically she could ascend to her, quote, her proper place in the community. So that it just, all of that is just everything that we've kind of assumed about her is now pretty much in her own head stated quite baldly, to where it's like, yeah, there's no like nuance, there's no misunderstanding. Like, no, she is just that fucking terrible.
Yeah, and that's half of my note here. The two parts in her head that stick with me is her hopes of ascending to her proper place in the community. Who says that? Like, what are you talking about? What does she deserve exactly that she's thinking here? That's my argument back to her. Is like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you think that you deserve
Yeah.
better? Why?
Like entitlement, right?
Why?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that you're better than others and everything like that? And there's even more to her psychology later on that I've made a note on. But the other one here is the ending line here of this little section that you covered. That ungrateful child, after all she had done for her, talking about what Cordelia has done for Susan.
Yeah.
What?
Which we know is
what?
not
Abuse?
Yeah.
Mental and emotional trauma?
Yeah.
You know, physical even, slapping her a couple times in this story alone.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what have you done?
And
exactly?
being in on the conspiracy. I mean,
to make her fatherless.
Yeah.
You know?
And then sell her to the mayor.
Basically,
the 60-something-year-old mayor. I mean, luckily the late mayor now.
Yeah.
So that's good. So she was roused by a sound scratching at the window. She had no idea how long it had been going for before it finally broke her out of her thoughts. She laid her needlework aside and got up to see a bird or children who were unaware the world had come to an end, playing reap jokes. She was going to shoo them away. She reached the window and saw nothing at first, but she was just about to turn away when she saw a pony cart at the edge of the yard, black with gold symbols painted on it. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's my note. That's not good. We know
that's a big uh-oh.
Yeah, we know whose cart that is. Then my note here, but also nice, or also since we are in Cordelia's point of view, the world had ended was not a reference to the murders and stuff. Hell, she probably doesn't even know about this, right? This is her staying up. It says that she stayed up the entirety of the night before, but it's like, is she fully privy to, like, does she even care? I mean, she's basically so spiraling by the Susan stuff. Like, does she give a fuck that the mayor's murdered and stuff?
I definitely think that she knows, because she accused Susan of being in on it with her, you know.
But in her mental state here, though, I
don't think. I think you're right. I don't think she cares.
The world ends. This goes back to what we just covered. Is like the world ended in the sense that she's not getting her payday. You know, like
she's not getting her status in the community.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a personal end of the world, I think, is what she's talking about. Yeah. That's how I interpret it. Because like versus like, I don't know.
It would be like if like someone who's like a family guy like me, if heaven forbid something happened to my wife or daughter, knock on wood, that would feel like the end of my world, because they are my world, you know?
Yeah.
I get up and go to work. I clean the house. I do things like that. All that stuff is in part mostly for them.
Yeah.
If I didn't have them, what would it be then? You know, what would my world be? That's more justified. But here, she's just talking about fucking social status.
Social status and money.
And money and how people look at her. And that's the note that I have later coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So Baraki says she's under the delusion that she helped Susan tremendously by working out the contract between the mayor and Susan. That's how insane she is. Most hated character, worse than Rhea. So
I mean, that's the other thing also is that the contract between the mayor and Susan's not even getting the fucking money.
Yeah, she is.
Cordelia is. We had that scene with her where
Yeah.
she's like, oh, so it's about the money, huh? So she goes over and she acts like she's getting the money out of her purse
to give to her.
And Susan can see her in the mirror and can see how much it it hurts me to part with this money. And she's like, I can see how much it bothers you to do this, Aunt. Stop.
Yeah.
Like she wants the money. She wants that social status. That's what's most important to her.
Yeah.
Not the well-being of her niece, who she's been given charge of because she murdered her brother.
Yeah, or is at least complicit in it.
At least yeah. I have to not accuse.
Yeah. Also, my last part of my note I missed. God, she is insufferable.
Oh, she is.
So, yeah, she's just fucking terrible. She was frowning when a twisted, filthy hand rose up in the air directly in front of her and began scratching the glass again. Cordelia gasped and clapped both of her hands at her bosom as her heart leapt into her chest. She backed up, gave a little shriek as her calf brushed the stove. The hand scratched twice more and fell away. Cordelia stood where she was for a moment. Then she went to the door, stopping at the wood box to pick up a chunk of wood that fit her hand, just in case. And then my note, please kill her, Cordelia.
My note amended that. Kill each other.
Yes, I mean, yeah, mutually assured destruction. That would be most ideal.
Right.
And I remember thinking that as I was reading the first time, I'm just like, every scene with these guys, like the last time I said the same thing. I'm like, I was just hoping Jonas would kill her at that last scene. The first time reading it, I'm like, just kill her, please. And then she jerked the door open, went to the corner of the house, drew a deep breath, and lifted the wood above her head, and turned the corner and began to tell whoever it was to get out before but then her voice was cut off as she saw what was in her yard. An incredibly old woman crawling through the flower bed next to the house, crawling towards her. What remained of its hair hung in its face. And I will say it's my choice here to change it to it.
Oh, okay.
So it does say she in the book,
okay.
But this isn't really a person at this point, right? Sores festered on her cheeks and brow. Its eyes were yellow, and it made panting noises as it moved. The specter spoke, calling her a good woman and asking her to help because she was about done up. Cordelia's Cordelia's arm with the wood lowered in disbelief. She asked if it was Rhea, and Rhea said that it was and told her to help her. Cordelia said no, she could not have someone like her in her house. She had a reputation to uphold, and people watched closely. And she looked up toward the street, expecting the whole town to be there watching, but saw no one. Rhea told her that her niece did this to her, and it was all her fault. Cordelia dropped the chunk of wood. Rhea said again to help her, and she knew where Susan was, and they had to work together. Women's work. So my note, fuck.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst possible case that could happen at this point,
yes.
right? Is these two.
About sums it up, yeah.
Yeah. And then I love Cordelia's first thought is for her reputation and that people would see.
Yeah,
like,
this is what I was talking about. What others think of her is really probably what is most important to her over everything else. Even the well-being of Susan. If the well-being of Susan is hurt, but it ups her social status, so be it. That's the thing, is that with the mayor and everything like that. And Baraki says in the chat, but Susan would have had a kind of status and to live in the big house to Cordelia that was worth a lot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. From her point of view, and that's a good point, Baraki. From her point of view, since status is such an important thing, she would become one of the highest status people in the town.
I mean, it's the mayor, Reimer, and then probably Susan, because she would surpass Olive Thorin.
Yeah,
as the Gilly over the wife of the mayor.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that is giving Cordelia some credit in the fact that she would actually see a lot of value in that. The other part that makes me think, though, because I don't want to give too much credit to her, does she expect to get some kind of rub from Susan, right? Because Susan's now that high up. Is she going to now get some, like, kind of the rub of the high upness because she's the aunt of this girl?
She has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, the big thing is like if she goes to the grocer and the grocer is mean to her, well, she could tell Susan, and Susan could tell the mayor, and then the mayor comes down, and whoosh, there goes that grocer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's get a new grocer in here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what she's expecting. Is she's expecting to have that status put upon her.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Baraki says basically Gollum in a dress. That's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that one flashback scene when he's still like deteriorating and still has some hair and stuff, which I always think is scarier than the actual final state.
Yeah.
Of the character.
Yeah, because the final state, you kind of get the goofiness a little bit where it's arguing with itself and everything. But that one, that's just pure madness.
Yeah.
Descending into madness. It's just terrifying.
Yeah, and David says it's satisfying when she looks out on the street and realizes absolutely no one gives a crap about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I think that part of it is like reflective, right? So like the kind of person she is, right? It's like, and I think a lot of us that have ever lived in the suburbs have known there's like that one person in the neighborhood that's just a busybody. They're the ones that's paying attention to everything, that whatever. They're the ones that like whatever. And it's like, so I think that's probably the kind of person Cordelia is. And I think because of that, she just assumes everyone is the same as she is.
Yes.
And so therefore the walls have ears type thing, right?
Yeah.
And every blade of grass has a pair of eyes watching you, because that's the kind of person she is. So she is, it's like those things where it's like the people, like if they have like something like they project it onto others, like it's probably that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely probably, I mean, if she wasn't fucking delusional and deranged, she'd probably maybe have an ego hit by the fact that no one's actually watching because nobody gives a fuck.
But she knows that they're watching. That's the thing, is like, even though there's no one standing on the street, she knows that they're still watching.
Yeah. And Baraki says Cordelia used to be the sister of the leader of the Horsemen's Society or whatever, and from that time she came to consider herself town royalty, and that may have been a thing because we understand that is a big position.
It is a huge position, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe she did.
I mean, look at the current head of the Horsemen's Association is Fran Langell.
Yeah,
and he's out there leading like the posse and like the meetings and stuff.
And
like
he's
that.
the one that we got in his head when he was basically imagining he's the next mayor, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty high up there. So,
yeah.
Then my last note, she asked if it was Rhea. We found out earlier in the book that Rhea was actually raised in this town, but it makes sense that someone like Cordelia, who had never had to prove honest because she never got married or whatever, and certainly didn't get married into a higher class thing. Because I can't imagine that every marriage goes to Rhea. But like,
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately,
maybe ones that involve money.
Yeah,
that might be the big one.
Potentially, yeah.
Because honestly, wouldn't it?
Which I think is like it was like high class, right? So whether it be the mayor, whether it be like the one of the big ranchers, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what I was gonna say. Is would you honestly be surprised if you found out that in this town, in this area, that arranged marriages where it's like, all right, my son is gonna marry your daughter, and you get 50 of my cattle for that marriage to happen.
Dowry stuff.
Dowry kind of thing. You get that, and then they get my ranch, kind of thing when I pass and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She's gonna come live.
That
would make sense.
That would
right?
make sense there.
That
too.
would be one that would go through Rhea. But a lowly blacksmith's apprentice marrying a grocer's daughter.
Yeah,
that's not probably not, right?
Not at all. And of course, Cordelia is not married at all, so it doesn't matter. And the other thing, I guess, in my mind too, the question came to my mind is like, I like to think these women are maybe close, but like in age. But I feel like Rhea's probably got 20-something years on her in terms of age. So it's like she probably doesn't. Rhea has probably moved up the mountain before Cordelia ever had any, so she probably literally has no earthly idea what Rhea looks like.
Yeah.
So with her actually, asking like, are you Rhea? Like it's a thing I would have easily just skipped over on a normal read, but with like sitting here going through it and thinking about it through line by line, it's like, oh shit, yeah. Like then I started to think about the mechanics of it. It's like, yeah, okay, because that still trips me out that Rhea actually was like born and raised here. I always picture like Sylvia Pittston, like moved from town to town types thing. But the fact that she was raised here, but again though, she's 20 years older. She moves up the mountain potentially when Cordelia is still in diapers, if she's born at all. So it's like, yeah, she never would have laid eyes on her because she never would have had a reason to. So,
and then worse off is that she just hears all the stories of what she looks like.
Yeah, 100%.
So you have this image of what Rhea is, and then this is what you get.
And I would also say that probably the images probably are kind of monstrous, and I wonder if the degradation of Rhea actually lends her to looking like the image that Cordelia would have had in her mind more than she would have. Mm-hmm. If Cordelia from the very beginning of this book had showed up in the yard right now, I wonder if she would even connect that it's Rhea.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't nearly as degraded. It's just one of those things, right? The way tall tales work, like, people are
The
going to
legends,
the
exactly.
legends would grow that she's just this fucking, crypt keeper looking creature. And she's now basically become that. So, Cordelia hesitated, but then moved down, to the woman to help her up. The smell of the hag was nauseating. It was a smell of decomposing flesh. And that's a fun thought.
That's a terrible smell.
I guess snakes maybe they don't smell anything. I don't know.
I don't think that's the snake.
No, I'm just saying. In the past, when the snake was doing its deeds, oh,
disgusting. Why?
Because it's fun. Rhea's bony fingers caressed Cordelia's cheek and the side of her neck, which made her flesh crawl. She got her in the house, and she sat her in a chair. Rhea told her to listen, and she said she was listening. Rhea pulled out a silver charm and began to move it back and forth. Cord began to get tired. Rhea said, and it also does mention from Cordelia's perspective that she wasn't the least bit tired, but now suddenly she was. So even though she stayed up all night. So I get that. I've been in that realm where you stay up all night and you're still not tired.
I don't know what's going on, but all right, let's keep going.
Yeah. Rhea said that the others and the ball was beyond her grasp, but she had been taken back to Mayer's house, and mayhap they could see her. They could do that much. Cordelia told her she couldn't see anything. She was dying. Rhea wheezed laughter and said she just needed refreshment. Rhea told her to listen and began to whisper in her ear, and Cordelia began to nod in understanding. And my note here, I don't like it when someone or something is being said or told when we can't hear it. It makes me very nervous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Don't say that. You don't ever say that.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
My note here, refreshment. She doesn't need refreshment. She needs a doctor. Or better yet, a bullet in the skull. Or 5.
Yeah, pretty much. Or a snake.
As long as it's like an anaconda and it eats her whole, then I'm fine.
And then David says, I actually don't have a sense of smell, so I can't relate to what the snake went through. Or I can relate to what the snake went through. I've always said we need a word for that. You got blind, you got deaf, but what about, no, I always said sniff should be the word for
sniff.
You can't smell. I don't know. Because I have terrible allergies, so 90% of the time I can't fucking smell anything anyway. People are like, "Oh my god, you smell that?" I'm like, "No." Like, is the building burning? No, then I probably can't smell it. So my allergies kill me. And then let's see. And then Baraki says, "Do you think that the pink ball basically made Rhea immortal, such as Rhea didn't eat or take care of herself in any way during that time?" And then when it's gone, now there's a debt to be paid. And I think that's actually fair because, we definitely got that impression she wasn't taking care of herself. So
no, we knew she wasn't.
She's an older woman and stuff. So it's like, honestly, that probably should have killed her. And like, now it's kind of like, I don't know, I almost picture it like the Last Crusade, with the drinking from the wrong grail and then just aging horribly, like immediately. I feel like that is kind of what she's going through there. So
anosmia. Lack of sense of smell. Anosmia.
Yeah, medical terms don't count. That's never going to stick in society.
Hyposmia is what it is when you have a lessened sense of smell. So that's you, sir.
Yeah. So in my last note, back to the realm of Rhea, who in lieu of what she really wants is going to get a vindictive. She's going to get vindictive and hold her grudges, which is not good for us.
We know we've seen this already. That her initial one with Susan failed, and so she did the note with Shimi.
When she remembered, because she
was blinded by the ball. Exactly. Yeah. And then the lack of the ball also bothered her. But when the ball came back, she remembered, and then she sent the note, and she still is holding a grudge. So third tries the charm, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, David says, you just said, I hope an anaconda eats her whole. I know you mean meant whole, but I heard the other one.
Disgusting. Get help. Get help.
Oh, it's hilarious. Rhea, and so moving on here, Rhea told her to do it, and she needed to do it now because she couldn't last much longer, and she would need some time afterwards to revive. Cordelia moved to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. Her eyes were distant like Susan's were at the doorway of Rhea's hut. Rhea asked her if she'd pay her back, and that is why she came to her. Cord said Miss Oh So Young and Pretty in a barely audible voice and said yes, she'd repay her. Rhea asked to the death, and Cordelia said yes, whichever of their deaths would come from this. Rhea said that it would be Susan's and to never fear it. She then told her to refresh her, give her what she needs. Cordelia took her dress off and used the knife to cut the first layer of skin at her waist, and she stared off as Rhea buried her face in the cut and began to drink. Oh man, there's been a lot of talk of gashes in this book, but this is the first time we've got a full-on legitimate gash eating here. Some Ermont comments, perhaps, and then my note: gross.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just that's pretty gross.
Yeah, it is. My note here. Do you want me to read that, or do you want me to save that?
No, we can. Yeah.
Okay. How have I never registered that Rhea hypnotizes Cordelia here?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I think I just breeze past that every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've never caught that necessarily.
Holy shit, that's such a big revelation for me.
Yeah.
Like seriously, because I've said this before. We each do our own subchapters, and then when the other person's done, we go back through, read through their summary, and then do our notes on top of their notes. So when I read through this again, seriously, dude, my hands just dropped off my keyboard, and I was just like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, it's way more subtle here. I feel like when Roland is like hypnotized Jake and stuff, like there's always been kind of a big to do about it.
The
and
bullet dancing across his fingers is mentioned like 4 or 5 times. Here, the charm comes out, ticks back and forth a few times, and that's it.
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's definitely interesting. I don't think I've we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section for sure.
Yeah.
And then my note, this is not sounding good.
No.
So suddenly Susan is in a lot of danger, it seems.
Yeah,
like.
we thought
she was already in danger, but like
we didn't know what was going to happen when she got back to Seafront. After all, everyone suspects that, not everyone suspects, but she was a part of 2 murders.
Yeah, she murdered the sheriff
and the deputy.
Yeah,
she shot the sheriff and the deputy.
Yeah, and again, the sheriff is pretty high in the society, so that would probably be enough to mean her life most likely. But having Cordelia and Rhea's powers combining here is not good, because
especially if Cordelia is drawn out of her stupor. Because if she's not drawn out of her stupor, there's a chance that the boys find out that she's captured. Okay, they're going to come and rescue her.
Yeah.
But if Cordelia is drawn out of her stupor before that, all of a sudden the finger points to Susan saying, by the way, she's with the traitors.
Yeah.
I know this. I have proof. And everyone just goes, okay, we can't lynch them. They're gone, but you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where it gets bad.
Yeah, indeed.
So subchapter 20, we're back with Roland. Roland was at first pleased when the muted jingled, harness and buckles drew closer. They were a little too close, and Roland could hear murmuring voices as well as the soft thudding of hoofs. He began to worry that they would be right down on top of them. He began to be afraid. If they rode down on them, on the 3 of them, would die like a nest of moles uncovered by the blade of a passing plow. Caw surely wouldn't have brought them all this way to end it in that fashion. In all the miles in the bad grass, how could they possibly have picked the perfect spot to where the party rides? Roland has seen crazier things. In fact, Roland, we have seen crazier things. In fact, so have you, is my note. Like, my guy, you've seen some whacked out shit, and you're like shocked that they are almost riding on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and my note, Caw, indeed.
Absolutely.
Also, Baraki says, it seems like a big part of Rhea's powers is mind control. Imagine the horrible things she would have done when she was young and fair, if she ever was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, indeed.
Makes you wonder with certain things that have happened before if she had her hand in any of that.
Yeah.
Olive not being able to conceive a child, the Horsemen's Association turning and helping Farson and stuff, all these different things.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what she has her fingers in.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
You can't throw a softball over the middle of the plate like that.
There was no mention of a snake at all in that one. All right?
No, but there's
no, you stop it.
There's
moving on.
Self-pleasuring as
moving
well.
on. God damn it, Dad.
Maybe that's why her skin was crawling.
Oh my God, stop it. Even still, they drew closer. The sound of tack and buckle and the men's voices growing sharper and sharper. Alain looked at Roland with dismayed eyes and pointed to the left. Roland shook his head and patted his hands towards the ground. They had to stay put. It was too late to move and not be heard. Roland drew his guns. Cuthbert and Alain did the same. In the end, the plow missed the moles by 60 feet. The boys could see them flashing past through the thick grass. Roland easily made out who was leading the party. Jonas, DePape, and Langille riding 3 abreast. They were followed by at least 3 dozen others. They were strung out pretty well, and Roland thought they would string out more once they reached the open desert. The boys waited for the whole party to pass, holding their horses' head in case one of them thought to whicker a greeting to the passing nags. When they were gone, Roland turned his pale, unsmiling face to his friends. "Mount up," he said. "Reaping's come," and that's a quote from the book. And that's the end of the subchapter.
Yeah.
Then-
Horses are very unpredictable, aren't they?
They are.
You never know when they're just going to make the wrong noise at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. Or if one gets spooked and one doesn't, who knows? You know,
Yeah.
Just depends on what breed you pick. Don't do the white Arabian. That one spooks very easily.
I mean, that's all I'm going to get is the White Arabian, sir.
Yeah,
Is that the one? Or
that's the one that's up in the snow and everything.
yeah, oh yeah, that's the yeah. They get spooked a little bit more, but the speed is worth it.
The speed is ungodly.
It is worth it.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 talk for anyone
Obviously.
that's not. Yeah,
Obviously. And then my note here, such tension is going to be so good on film. Like, this is just going to be, I can just hear the music. Might even be like the end of an episode. Like, mount up, he said, reaping's come. And credits, kind of thing. So, like, ooh, it's going to be so good.
yeah. Well, at the end of the episode.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
So this goes back to just how big or how wild this Badlands grass is. Remember a few episodes ago where the men who knew it best were stopping every 20 minutes or so to recalibrate where they were going. For this group to be able to get within 20 yards of our boys and their horses, and to not see the horses, that really shows how dense this grass is and how easy it would be to get lost in it. So
it's tall. It springs back eventually. There is like a path, like Reynolds is following their back trail.
Yeah.
For a little bit, but it does eventually spring back up and everything like that. And what Tad mentions here, stopping every 20 minutes so they could recalibrate, that's at night by the stars. During the day, there is no stars. So it's kind of like, if you can't see the sun, you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is how people died. They mentioned the kids would die in the bad grass.
Yeah.
They'd get lost in there.
Yeah. And that's one thing, 'cause, I mean, kids don't have the best survival instincts sometimes. No. But yeah, for adults to like be that worried, it gives you kind of a sense of just how dangerous this is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got one more note?
Oh, that ending line is so good. Mount up, reaping's come.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Indeed. All right. So moving over to subchapter 21. They walked their horses to the edge of the bad grass, meeting the path of Jonas's party where the grass became the desert. The wind howled and the demon moon stared down like the eye of a corpse, and that's a fun thought.
Oh, yeah.
200 yards ahead, the drogue riders of Jonas's party were spread out in a line of 3. Their sombreros jammed down tight on their heads, serapes blowing. Roland moved so that Bert rode in the middle of their trio, and he had his slingshot in hand. Now handed half a dozen steel balls to both Alain and Roland. They then raised his eyebrows questioningly, and Roland nodded, and they began to ride. Dust was kicking up, and sometimes the drogue riders became like ghosts, and sometimes they vanished in the dust entirely. Roland nervously waited for one of them to turn and see the boys, but none of them did. So then my note, here we go.
About time is my note. Yes.
Yeah, we've been building for this for weeks now.
Yeah.
It's months for us, but weeks in terms of if you were just listening to these episodes one at a time, it's been weeks. But yeah, it's been months for us. So it's been at least 2 full episodes. It's felt like setting the table, getting ready for this battle, and like now it's hopefully time to get it going here.
Yeah.
So when they were just 20 yards behind the riders, Bert nodded that they were close enough. Alain handed him a ball. Bert dropped it in his slingshot and waited for the wind to drop, and then released. The rider ahead of them jerked as if stung and fell out of his saddle. Incredibly, neither of the other two noticed. Roland thought he saw a reaction starting on the one on the right, but Cuthbert dropped him. The wind dropped enough for Roland to hear the man's knee snap as his foot caught in the stirrup. So that's a fun sound there.
Oof.
That's a fun. My Instagram algorithm gets a little unchained at times, and I know what that sounds like for a good old leg breaking there. Joe Theismann comes to mind as well. So the third rider began to turn, but Bert put a ball through his eye. 3 gone.
Just like that.
And then my note, fucking badass. Just incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is a far cry from Dennis the Menace in our world. I mean, a slingshot's a child's toy in our world. So, but here it is quite a lethal weapon.
My mom would never let me have a slingshot because she thought this would happen, that I'd put someone's eye out or something like that.
I mean, the birds in the neighborhood are probably better off for me not having one, but that's probably, I don't know that I would have necessarily taken someone's eye out. That's what BB guns are for.
My only note here is, oh man, that snapping knee would be gruesome. Yeah, I sent one the other day in our reels where a guy, it's a UFC fight, the guy hits the guy in the arm, and you could just hear the arm snap.
Yeah,
you just hear it crack. I just picture that.
Yeah, exactly. And then Baraki says, I wonder if this part was in any way the seed for the story of In the Tall Grass.
Oh,
that's a good thought. Yeah. I will say, just that whole rural, whether it be corn or whatever, just different kinds of fields, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just children of the corn back in the day or what, but that just I don't know. Or I guess there's the signs too, right? So there's all kinds of creepy shit that could be happening in there.
Absolutely.
I don't trust it. Oh, and there was the quiet place too, was out in the rural areas.
David says it's funny that Cuthbert kills someone before Roland has.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Because old Court has not died.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, barely.
So, yeah. Huh. I never realized that.
No. If you would have asked me, I would have said it was Roland. But,
absolutely.
I mean, thinking through it logically, though, He
has his trial. He's sent here could you say Roland killed Hacks?
No.
I mean, Cuthbert was there with him, too, so either way.
Yeah. The other thing is, let's just pause for a second and remember, what is one of the things that Cuthbert was very mad about with Susan? That it was always Roland first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cuthbert, you got the one that really matters first.
Yeah, you got your first kill first.
Yeah.
Baraki also says, I remember wondering if Burr's shot in the Traveler's Rest scene was just luck. Then this part cleared that up for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's skill.
I'm also calling it, by the way, Flanagan Dark Tower series. The Traveler's Rest, I believe, will be a partial degloving.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I think just
I think it'll take fingers off.
Fingernails, rip the fingernails off.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
That's always a fun one. So the boys kicked their horses into full gallops. The manless horses peeled off from the group, which was good. Horses without riders did not cause much suspicion in Hambry, but ones with saddles and no riders would. More riders ahead, a single, then a pair, and then another single. Roland drew his knife and rode up on the single, who is now Drogue but didn't know it. Roland asked what news, which reminds me of Lord of the Rings. What news from the mark? And then buried his knife in the man's chest. When he turned, the man fell from the saddle. Bert took the pair with his slingshot. The next single heard something in spite of the wind and swiveled, and Alain had his own knife out and threw it into the man's head, and he dropped out of his saddle. So what a fucking kill there for Alain.
We're going to talk about it.
7 down. Roland thought that it was like the story of the shoemaker and the flies. He caught up to the other 2. There were 3 more riders ahead and then the main party in front of them. Roland mined the slingshot for the next 3 and then guns for everyone ahead of those 3. Cuthbert and Alain nodded and they rode on. And that is the end of the subchapter. So,
here we go.
So this is straight badass and I can't wait to see this on screen. This is just incredible. This is incredible shit.
My note just adds on to that. If this is done right, which I have every confidence in Flanagan, this could be one of the most amazing action scenes in a Western ever.
This could be great.
Like, the overtaking of Jonas's party could go down in history as just so epic.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And then Brothers Grimm has the tailor that kills 7 flies. So I guess they have the same story here, but with the shoemaker instead of the tailor in this world. More wild connections to our world. I guess they have German children's stories in Middle Earth, in Mid-World. Just that's strange. I don't think I ever would have caught on to that before. I did have to Google it because I'm like, wait, shoemaker and the flies? I'm like, what is that? I'm like, it sounds like something that might be real, and it's like, I basically found like Grimm's whatever in it, but it was the tailor in our world, and it's like basically he kills 7 flies with 1 hit, and then he like makes a belt to like brag about it. Then he ends up running into a giant that thinks that it means 7 at once in one swipe. The giant interprets that as people. So then he like runs afoul of this giant that thinks he's like this ultimate badass, and he's just a dude that's bragging about killing flies.
Oh god.
So.
don't boast too much, basically, is the moral of the story.
Yeah. And then Alain with the knife kill. Well played. Just
my note here is that you got to give it a lot more credit than that. This is at a full gallop. Getting a kill by throwing a knife is just in the wind. They've talked about the wind. Like the
wind is part of their camouflage here.
Yeah, that's unreal to throw a knife.
Yeah.
And kill someone.
So Bert got the first one. Alain gets the best style points, and then Roland
got a melee kill.
Yeah, Roland got it. I mean, he gets some badassness of like the hey, what news?
Hey, what news? Cut.
Yeah, and then stabby like that. So like, I'm not going to shit on Roland necessarily, but if we're giving out medals here, you know, the gold to Cuthbert because he got the first. Yep. Alain gets the silver easily because of style points, and then Roland comes in third there. So
that knife throw is going to be, he better be freaking close, otherwise it's just going to seem so unrealistic. But he is a gunslinger after all. So.
Yeah, it always reminds me of Scream when is it the first or second one when the killer throws the knife at Dewey, but as it's flinging, it hits him with the handle.
Yeah, I think it's the second one.
I think it is the second one. I don't know why I always think of that with knife throws, which is more realistic because, to be honest, I've spent some time trying to throw knives. I saw too many movies as a child.
Yeah.
And there's specific knives made for throwing, and trying to throw an average knife, they're just not weighted properly to actually be thrown like you see in like Commando or whatever, these kind of movies. Like they don't only throw them; they throw them and they bury them to the hilt of someone's chest, and it's like, there's bones there, right? Yeah, like, I mean, Arnold is a burly man, so if there's anyone that can throw a knife that hard, that's probably him. He or Randy Johnson.
Yes. Baraki says, I must say that after so much roaching around that the boys had to do prior to the scene, it felt so good to see them actually kick ass. For sure. Yeah, because ultimately we've been kind of delayed on any action for almost this entire story, right? They've really had to, except for the Traveler's Rest, which like ultimately was like on the edge of action, but we actually ended up not getting any true fighting, right? It was a showdown. It was one shot and then a showdown. And who's going to come out on top, not with no violence. So. Yeah, and outside of that, we've been playing castles. Yeah. So here we're finally seeing the full-on fighting start. And then my last note here, shooting soon, too. Yes. So, can't wait for that. All right, so jumping over to Subchapter 22. Bert got 2 out of the 3 ahead of them clean, but the third jerked at just the wrong moment, and the steel ball clipped his earlobe instead of the back of his head. Roland had drawn his gun by then and put a bullet in the man's temple. I just want to pause here because I just realized that means Roland has drawn and undrawn his gun twice now. Because he drew his guns when they were standing on the ground quieting their horses. And now he's drawn his gun again. It's like the movies where the people have to cock their fucking gun or their shotgun like 25 fucking times. Yeah, it's kind of like that. That made 10. A full quarter of Jonas's men gone before they even realized trouble had begun. Roland had no idea if it would be enough of an advantage, but he knew the first part of the job was done. No more stealth. Now it was a matter of raw killing. And then, going to do a quote here. Heil, heil, he screamed in a ringing, carrying voice. To me, gunslingers, to me. Ride them down, no prisoners. That's the end of the quote there. I love it. Also, David sent a thing earlier that said the knife throw thing, that's some Hunger Games shit, and I've never seen Hunger Games, but I'm assuming there's some some fun knife play there. It also reminds me of Fun Boy. No, not Fun Boy. Tintin in the Crow. Yeah. The knives. Aren't we all? Yeah, because there's some knife throwing with him there. Yeah. So, and then my note here, good tension with the miss. That should play really good on screen as well. Yeah, we're clip the ear. Yeah. And then you just yell. Yeah. And then my note here, what a thing to yell. Talk about getting in their heads, like the psychological side of it here. Yeah. 1 second they are riding along knowing that they are safe. No one's set upon them. Everything's happy. They're in a party of like 30 men. Yeah. But then suddenly this voice yells, ride them down, no prisoners. And you turn around and the 10 guys behind you are just dead. Yeah. They're just gone. Yeah, just gone. You don't even know if they're dead. They're just gone, and all of a sudden there's the 3 boys that you're supposed to be on the lookout for. Yeah. So going on, they spurred towards the main party, riding into battle for the first time. And David points out he had to put his guns away to stab the one dude. Yeah, for the draw, so that makes sense. Yeah, so it's like he pulled his guns when they were in the clear, when they were waiting, and then put them away. What is it the kids call it? Aura farming.
Roland
Yeah.
just RF on me
Yeah,
because he knew they weren't going to use the guns. They had to go quiet.
they had to go
first,
stealth
so,
first, yeah.
So Roland is just doing it to get some style points.
Wait, was it prep just in case if they got rode on top of?
Oh, probably had the guns out for that just in case. Yeah,
He's worried about that. He gets really nervous about that, so he pulls his guns just in case if they're going to land on top of them, then he's going to go down fighting.
yeah,
And then it's like, nope, they didn't. Okay, put him away. Call him the horse.
yeah,
Get on the horse, and now let's go do our stealth thing. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I solved it. There we go.
Yeah.
It's not one of those overcocking the gun 17 times before
Yeah.
a fight thing.
yeah. Barakiel says also the knife throw in Game of Thrones. Trying to remember. I know there's a lot of badass shit in Game
there's
of Thrones.
I've only watched Game of Thrones one time. Honestly, I was thinking about a rewatch, but those end seasons.
the last couple seasons. But the first 5 seasons though is some of the greatest TV, man. There's some great shit
Yeah.
there. Some great shit.
So going on, they spurred towards the main party, riding into battle for the first time, closing like wolves on sheep. Shooting before the men ahead of them had any idea of who had gotten behind them or what was happening. The 3 boys were trained as gunslingers, and what they lacked in experience, they made up for in keen eyes and reflexes of the young. Under the guns, the desert east of Hanging Rock became a killing floor. Screaming, they tore into the mages' party. Not a single thought among them above the wrist of their deadly hands. Like a 3-sided blade, they sliced through them, shooting as they went. Not every shot killed, but not a single shot went wide and went entirely wide either. Men flew from the saddles. Some got their feet caught in the stirrups as their horses bolted and dragged with them. Other men, some dead, some only wounded, were trampled beneath the hooves of their panicking, rearing mounts.
All right, yeah, sorry, I lost my place there for a second. Riding into battle for the first time, age 14, that's wild.
It's not only wild, but it's also impressive to think that they don't entirely miss. Like, it's not saying every shot was a kill shot, but nothing missed entirely. I've been shooting since I was like 9 years old, was the first time my dad took me shooting. I have never shot on horseback, but I have ridden a horse. It is not stable. You don't have a stable ground to shoot from there, so
yeah,
that is
no, and that's like reminds me of the Mongolians that
the mounted archers
where they had it timed perfectly where they would release when all 4 of the horses' feet were off the ground.
Yes.
Which it's funny because like Western civilization, it took us to getting to photography to even accept that the horse was ever all 4 off the ground.
Yeah,
right, because it was that first person that was able to take mass pictures
the first video,
first
right?
motion picture. Yeah. And that's like basically what they basically proved is like there is, because that was always a debate, was like is there ever a point that the horse has all 4 feet off the ground? But it's like Mongolians, the hundreds or thousands of years ago.
Yeah,
they knew because they knew that's exactly when they were going to release the arrows.
They have it pulled. They wait for the horse to get up in the air, and there you go.
Yeah, that's one that always struck me from the old Dan Carlin hardcore history stuff. The Mongolians, because I never would have thought of that. I've never been on a horse. I've seen horses, but I've never been on one, so I don't know what it's like to ride one or whatever. So yeah,
I've ridden a horse. I've never even ridden one faster than just like a light trot. But the thing that you have to remember is that if you watch, I think it's Yellowstone, or maybe it's 1923, they talk about it with someone who's inexperienced, is you don't fight the horse as you're bouncing up and down. Because literally the horse is walking, and as it's walking, it's going up and down. Just like when you run, you bounce up and down.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. So when you see a rider, there's a video that I just saw recently of this championship rodeo competition of a woman riding a horse, shooting left and right balloons off of a barrel.
Yeah.
In mid gallop, like full on going.
Yeah.
And everyone in the comments was just like, if you don't know how impressive this is, go ride a horse.
Yeah.
Like, go ride a horse and try to shoot a barn. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, let's give credit back to Alain then. Throw.
That's why I wanted to give like such praise to that. That kill is ungodly talented.
Yeah.
Or ungodly lucky.
It's always the quiet ones too.
It is too. It's always like, wait, Isn't it that way with like all the World War II stories as well? Like Shifty Powers was the deadliest shot in Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even have a scope on his M1, and he could just be like take the flies off of a fly at 100 yards or some shit like that. He's just insanely good.
Yeah, and that I don't know. I love it because like I don't know. I feel like we can kind of get the impression that Alain is a little bit softer. But yeah, he's definitely very capable. So yeah, love to see that for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you get your note?
Yeah, that's my. Yep.
Okay.
Right.
So and then vintage Roland for us readers. But now we're seeing it with 3 of the boys at the same time, and obviously in the context of the timeline, this is earlier on. So all the badass shit we've seen of Roland hasn't happened yet. But for us as readers, though, this feels like Tull. This feels like, you know, all of those badass moments we've seen of Roland,
and all that stuff.
You know, the leaning tower. We've seen Roland be a badass quite a number of times.
Absolutely.
And just mow people down. And I think the thing that does kind of startle me a bit is just how capable they are as children. Like, I know they were trained and stuff, but like there would have been a thought that like they would be capable, but maybe not as capable as like vintage Roland for us. Right. Because they're still just kids. Like Roland's going to learn a lot, and God knows how much time passes between you know where we're at now and where we're going to be in the future. I mean, fuck, could be hundreds of years. The way it seems like
the
way
time is
book
weird.
one,
yeah,
the way book one ended, it made it sound like, you know, a century had passed or whatever. So, but ultimately, yeah, it's one of those things I would have expected. Like, you know, if you got like the number scale, it's like Roland's a 10 out of 10 in like the you know, before losing his fingers, especially probably bring it down to a 9 out of 10
in the gunslinger, the Battle of Tull. Yeah,
but then we'll bring it down to a 9.
I don't even know if you want to call it the Battle of Tull. It's the Massacre of Tull, right?
Massacre, yeah. But I would have suspected that like 7s is maybe what we would see here on that same 10 scale for the children. I mean, even that's pretty that's giving them a lot of credit because again, they're kids, even though they're highly trained, it is kids. So like, yeah, I think that it's kind of wild to see them this capable. It's not what I would have expected. And I'll have another note on this in a bit because we actually see some other stuff.
No, it's actually kind of opening my eyes to something about Roland that what you're saying is making me realize that I don't think that any battle prowess is necessarily going to be gained from the Massacre of Tull, under the Leaning Tower, under Ludd with Jake, the rescue of Jake and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything there that Roland hasn't done 100 times.
Yeah.
I think that his training ingrained it in him so well. You can see it here in this first battle, that everything else that he picks up is that knowledge that goes along with it.
Yeah.
You know, like you have those soldiers that have fought in a couple battles and you're like, okay, this guy knows how to fight a battle. But then you have those men who have fought in a battle who have picked up that little bit more. Band of Brothers always comes to mind. Take the bayonet off, son. It's not going to be as accurate with it on there.
Yeah.
You know, that Bull Randleman line in the Operation Market Garden. That kind of thing sticks with me. That's Roland in book 1.
In the future, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I expected them necessarily to be shitty. I just didn't necessarily expect the same level of like badass Rolandness here.
No, you expect a rookie to be a rookie, you know, if they go into like the sports analogy. If it's the person playing their first game, their first battle, there might be a little hiccup here or there. Alexander the Great had hiccups leading his first army. You know? Patton had hiccups his first time through. Rommel, all these guys who have led men have always had hiccups. I think the thing that we have to remember is that the training is so extensive and the training is so deep with these guys that it's ingrained in them so deeply from birth that it's very much Jedi-esque.
Yeah.
Obviously, the morals are very different when it comes to gunslingering,
well,
but it's like you're indoctrinated from birth basically on.
Yeah, but here's the other thing I guess I hadn't considered is what if some of this is just how much they planned this? Like, if this had just been sprung on them, would they be this effective? Or is the fact that they basically, over the last couple weeks or whatever it's been for them, like, they've basically been hammering out exactly what they're going to do down to the fucking T, right? We saw them doing a lot of the prep work on it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I wonder if, like, that is helping a smidge. Maybe that's helping them move up from that 7 out of 10 up closer to the 10 out of 10. And it's a little bit deceptive that this just looks like vintage Roland to us. But again, I think the remarkable thing here is to have 3 of them, because we've only ever really had one, you know, gunslinger of the Eld in this story. So to see 3 of them fighting side
Yeah.
by side, that's pretty fucking incredible.
I think there's a line that I can't remember if it was in your section or if it was in mine section, where it's their experience was not a detriment because their reflexes and youth
Yeah.
made up for it.
Yeah.
I think that is a large part of it too, is that if you're going to have someone go out and do some fighting, the younger ones are always going to be better than, people our age and
Yeah.
everything. Go put a 19, 20-year-old out there with an AK versus a guy in his 40s with an AK.
Yeah.
The guy with the AK might be a little bit smarter about things and might have a little bit more experience depending on his life and everything like that. But you put a kid out there, they can run around, they can move and everything like that. I picture like the Tombstone scene where I think it's Kurt Russell, where he leans around the horse, and so the guy's like, "Where's the rider?" And then he pops up and shoots him from under the horse's neck.
Yeah.
Like things like that you don't do when you're 45, 60, when you're Jonas's age.
Yeah.
You don't do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You don't throw a knife at a guy when riding full gallop in a windstorm, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use a slingshot. So I think that their youth actually is like such a good thing for them here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's badass though. I like I said, it's just it's cool to see the gunslinger action throughout this series, but now we're seeing it times 3.
And that's
I
why
love
we're gushing over it so much, is because it is one of the coolest things to see someone aside from Roland be a gunslinger.
I'm not sure if we've ever done like rankings of battles and stuff, but I have a feeling that if we have, I don't know if this would have made the list.
I don't think it would have even been thought of.
I think this is very very underrated
It
in that
is,
sense, because
for sure.
this is some great shit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it probably doesn't get the same recognition as some other battles.
Again,
throughout the
can you
series.
even call it a battle? I mean, we're not to the end of it yet, but can you call it a battle? Or is it the massacre in the desert, kind of thing?
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's fair.
my last note here, then we'll move on. I have always remembered the screaming from these books when you go into battle. I don't remember what culture it was. Maybe it was the Khans that would scream as they went into battle, and it by itself won battles. It would break spirits.
It's
I know it's all throughout.
Yeah,
but there's an early one that
no, everyone does just shouts different things. I mean,
Yeah.
the Romans, the Greeks, the Aztecs, the Mongolians, like it's kind of like it's like the whole like Denethor, what's his name from fucking Rohan, and that whole speech right before the
King
charge.
Theoden?
Theoden, it's that kind of thing. I think it's as much to like psych the other people up, but you're also hyping people up because
Yeah.
like when you're in those ancient civilizations, like I feel like it's hard for us in our modern day, because I'm not going to say that like it's easier with guns, but it is easier with guns, man. Like actually
Well,
going
even like the British, even
like
the British would have like the drums and everything like that going for them. That would keep men marching because you march to the beat of the drum, right?
I mean, yeah, but I guess I think there's just been a whole change in like battle tactics since guns, because yeah, when it has to be like me versus you, like we're this close to each other with fucking swords, like that's a different kind of combat.
Yeah.
And like so like I think you needed to almost hype people up to the extent. So I think it was
Sure.
like it was a twofold thing, but it was also psychological. Also the Aztecs had those death whistles.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
but it's all throughout for sure, because yeah, like because I
One
think
of your favorite kind of videos is when someone has one of those and scares people in like abandoned buildings. Or
oh
cemeteries.
god, yeah, dude.
You every time I see one, I am legally obligated to send it to you.
Yeah, I should buy one of those.
Hayden would not be happy with you if you did.
That'd be a fun thing to have.
We're out in the parking lot behind the movie theater one night, and as he's walking towards his car, you just let it loose.
Yes, hire someone to lurk in the shadows.
Oh, just right there by the dumpster.
After a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a bad influence.
I am a bad
I love it. I love it's on film here. So
I learned it by watching you.
And Baraki says massacre in the grass. Grassacre.
It's just outside of the grass. I think that'll suffice. It's in
Yeah.
the desert. It's on the desert floor now, but I think it'll suffice. It's right by the bad grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
The grassacre.
and then he talks about kills the horse as it's charging him. It's the Dario Naharis scene in the Marine. Yeah, I remember that. When he's like asking to like fight for her when they're outside the city, and they send out like the champion, and he just like the dudes like charge him with the horse, and like they're kind of freaking out.
Who is?
It's the one dude that is kind of in love with Khaleesi. like the warrior.
Oh, okay, the badass. Yeah,
and
okay.
everyone's like getting nervous because he doesn't have a shield or anything else, and the horse is fucking charging him down. Then he just fucking knife throws it into the horse and takes the horse out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem I've always had with Game of Thrones is that I read Baraki's message and I was like, is that English? Is that supposed to be a name that I remember?
My favorite part about it is when they take our names but then spell them all weird. That's my.
Oh yeah, Pater, Paety.
Well, that's just Russian, but that's just Russian. But no, it's just like when it's like, yeah, there's just some of these people that they have like the exact same name as like we would have, but he just adds a Y in there somewhere. It's like a Utah mom.
Tiad.
So, yeah.
Tyad.
Something pretty much. Yeah.
I have to tell a story real fast. Went to a fast food place yesterday with my wife, and I guess the headset wasn't working right. And so they asked for my name, and I said, it's Peter. We got our food, and on the receipt it said, bear, ? Just like, it's that far off. Like, your headset was that bad. And then she even put a question mark on it. So it's just like.
Yeah. Now you know how I feel.
What? Because you can't hear?
No, because my name never gets.
Oh, your
right.
name? No.
In fact, I usually give a fake name when I go to a place like Starbucks.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you say? Just like Jim?
Bob. Just some random normal.
Do you ever
name.
forget what name you gave, and they're like Bob, and you're like,
yeah.
Wait, what name did I give?
It's usually connected to a movie in some way.
Okay.
Bob from Halloween is that's it's a name. It would be like that. I would just on the cuff. I would just think of a name from a movie and just throw that out there,
and then forget it 10 seconds later.
It happened to me a couple times. Yes, it did happen a couple times. Like The Simpsons. Hello, Mr. Thompson. When I step on your foot, say hello. Hello, Mr. Thompson. I think he's talking to you. Yeah, pretty much.
That's the witness protection one, right?
Yeah,
with
Cape Fear.
Cape Fear? Yeah.
One of the greatest episodes of all time.
I love that episode. Okay, sorry. Sidetracks and everything.
Tangents. That is what the T stands for in DTP, right?
It is.
Unofficially, but yes.
Unofficially, but officially.
DTTP, Dark Tower Tangent Palaver.
Dark Tower Tangent.
No, I think tangent is like built into palaver, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like palaver is like extended speech, right? It's not like to the point. So
no, it's campfire talk. Absolutely,
yes, exactly. So
so Roland rode with both guns drawn, firing, and the reins gripped in his teeth so they wouldn't trip Rusher up. 2 men dropped on his left, now 2 more on the right. Ahead of them, Brian Hookey turned in his saddle, his beard stubby face long with amazement. Around his neck was a reap charm in the shape of a bell. He reached for his shotgun that was in a scabbard over one shoulder. Roland blew the silver bell off his chest and exploded his heart. Hookey grunted as he pitched out of his saddle. Cuthbert caught up with Roland on the right and shot 2 more out of their saddles. He gave Roland a fierce and blazing grin. Al was right, he shouted. These are hard calibers.
Yeah, I love holding the reins in the teeth while firing both guns.
Dude, true grit.
That's
true grit with Bridges.
Yeah, the dude.
Yeah, the dude.
Yeah.
Dude, so badass.
And the great thing with the dude is because of Iron Man, his least doodly role ever will always be Iron Man. No matter what else he plays, it's always like, it's at least closer to the dude than Iron Man was. Yeah.
He was a drunk.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's a good one. The freaking Coen brothers, man.
Nailed it.
They're great. And then also good to see Hookey gone because he's one of the early ones that we discovered was in on it because he runs the blacksmith. Is it?
Yeah, he is the blacksmith.
He's the foundry. Is that I guess what you call like where the blacksmith works?
Yeah.
So like he would have had to have known about like the deception with the horses and stuff because he has to like shoe the horses and stuff. So if like when they're over or under reporting what they have, he's going to be in on it from the early levels. So I don't want to lose the fact that early on we ended up finding out that old Hookey here is quite the fucking villain in all this story, probably up there outside of the realm of like Reimer, probably one of the worst people like in terms of
just took bribe after bribe, right?
Yeah, so good let's just bring that back in, the fact that as he's dying here that he fucking deserves it.
Oh yeah. My last note before moving on, never change Bert. He's up here laughing and everything like that, grinning and everything. Yeah. Never change Bert.
Yeah.
Always be you, Bert.
I mean, was there in there I don't think this is a spoiler to say, but I want to say it was in the no, it was because it was about Eddie, so it's probably in the second book where Roland talks about Cuthbert dying laughing.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah, we know he's gonna die laughing for fuck's sake.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, indeed. All right.
Okay, going on, Roland's talented fingers did their work reloading his revolvers while at a full gallop, doing it with ghastly supernatural speed, rolling the cylinders with ease, then began firing again. They had come halfway through the group, riding hard, laying men low on both sides as they went. Alain dropped back a little and turned his horse, covering Roland and Cuthbert from behind.
Wild that Roland's reloading trick is even here in the first battle. Pretty impressive for a kid. Because that's like one of those things that if you would have asked me, like, you know, going into this before we got to this point, if you would have asked, like, hey, can Roland do the reloading trick here? I would have said no. That's something he would have gained along the way. Like, that's just, that's like a next level of like expertise. So that's when earlier I said like we'd hit back on the idea of like kind of being surprised by like these boys' abilities, because that's the whole reload trick is just something that I would have expected came over time. And it's like, not to say that he would have been like fumbling around with shells, it would have been like you know, whatever, but I would have expected a much less effective reload than what like
maybe holster one, reload, you know, and it just seems like he's not going to be as proficient at it because he has never done it in the heat of battle.
Yeah, exactly.
But apparently he's just a natural.
Yeah.
So he's doing it here. And honestly, it would not surprise me if he's reloading both with one hand each.
Yeah.
Like, I just picture that where he's like plucking bullets off of like a bandolier.
Yeah.
And just like, and able to drop them into the cylinder perfectly while galloping on a horse.
Yeah.
Also, we got to just take note. Their horses seem to be pretty fast if they're able to catch up to this group and then just plow right through them.
Yeah.
They're not moving slow.
Well,
they're not trotting. They're hauling ass to get to Hanging Rock.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know if they're going like full speed though. I think they're going a decent speed, but like, you know, they're in second gear, and I feel like Roland and them are probably in fourth gear,
fourth or fifth gear.
And David says anytime I hear someone mention the dude, I get kind of bummed out because I'm the only person in the world who didn't care for that movie. Now I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie the first time. But for some reason, I rewatched it, and every single time I rewatch it, I love it more and more. Like the first time, I remember just being like, "I was all right," but like whatever. And I honestly, that's happened to me multiple times with the Coen brothers, because I was in the same way with fucking No Country for Old Men, which is now one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
But like the first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh man, this is overrated, man!" Yeah. Like because it would just come out, it was in theaters and shit, and everyone was raving about it. But then I ended up seeing it again, and I was just like, "Oh shit, no!" So there's something about the Coen brothers that they're just like. They don't knock your socks off all the time right from the start, but it's when you rewatch it when it's like, oh shit, like there's.
I think there's a lot of stuff in
Fargo is the same way for me.
I think there's a lot of stuff in the Coen Brothers movies that when you watch it a second, maybe even a third time, you're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. And then Baraki says, I don't think I've seen it, so I don't know. But yeah, I will say just in my experience, because I remember not being overly fond of it the first time either. But then, and I don't even know why I rewatched it since I didn't love it the first time. Yeah. But I think it was probably just a couple lines in there that were so like whatever that I was just like, I'm going to watch it again.
I wonder a large part of it also is that we've both done this to each other several times where it's just like, oh man, I love this. And it's like, well, I didn't really care for it. Give it another shot. And then we give it another shot and it's like, okay. That wasn't as bad as I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. You just forced me to do it recently.
I did. I sure did. And what was the verdict on it?
It wasn't as bad as I remember.
That's what I thought. Do I remember what that was? No, I do not.
The Darton or Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, that's right. Yeah, you remember that movie being absolute trash. So.
Yeah, I mean I do prefer superheroes, but let's go ahead and move on.
There is a superhero.
I don't know about that.
His name's Batman. He's the greatest superhero of all time. So my last note here before going on, even in their first battle, they still have sound tactics. Alain doesn't just go kill crazy and forget to cover their rear.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And of course it's Alain that's the drogue, the guy watching their back, right? Like it makes more sense to have him than Cuthbert. I don't know why, but it does in my head.
Yeah, I mean he's already won the gold medal for this battle, so what does he need to? He could just.
I mean, the battle's not over,
but he can just rest on his laurels a bit. He's got the best kill. At the end of this all, when they're all sitting around a campfire, recapping, like he's gonna win the the MVP award.
We'll see.
So
we'll see
the best kill award.
We'll see. Most stylish kill. Roland saw Jonas, DePape, and Langell rearing around to face their attackers. Langell tried to free his machine gun, but the strap was tangled in the wide collar of his duster he wore. It kept bobbing out of reach every time he reached for it. The expression on his face was one of twisted fury. Between those three and Roland and Cuthbert came Renfrew holding a huge blue steeled 5-shot in one hand. He screamed, "Gods damn you, you rotten sister fuckers." He dropped his reins and laid the 5-shot in the crook of one elbow to steady it. The wind gusted viciously, wrapping him in an envelope of swirling brown grit. Roland had no thought of retreating or trying to jig to one side or the other. In fact, he had no thought at all. The fever had descended over his mind, and he burned with it like a torch that had just touched dry grass. Screaming through the reins in his mouth, he galloped at Renfrew and the 3 men behind him, and that's the end of the subchapter.
Oh, the shock is really throwing all of them through a loop. None of them are ready. So they all underestimated our boys again for their final time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Such an awesome fight. Can't wait to see it. Here we see the fever and lack of thought when they are all fighting. It really is scary when you think about them being able to flip a switch and just kill. Almost like people who describe serial killers a little bit. Is like, there's that especially Bundy is one, and I've also heard it about Dahmer as well, is that there's this moment where he's having conversation with people, attorneys, reporters, friends, family after they've been caught, and they're just normal. But then all of a sudden there's just this, and it's just they're a different person.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to see that with all 3 of them, not just Roland. It's not just Roland that is a cold-blooded killer that can just flip the switch and just have that fever descend on him, and he massacres everyone in a town.
Yeah.
Cuthbert is fully capable of doing that, as well as Alain.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and this is underrated for sure. Just the last button on it. Like I again, because I think if we've ever done battles before, I don't think this one got mentioned, would be my guess, just because I feel like it's one that's easy to kind of lose in the sense of the entire series and the sense of even just this book. But this is fucking top tier stuff for sure. So
absolutely.
So moving over to subchapter 23. So Jonas had no clear idea of what was happening until he heard Will Dearborn screaming, "Heil to me, no prisoners," a battle cry he knew of old. The rattle of gunfire now made sense. He reined around, aware that Roy was doing likewise, but he was more aware of the ball, a thing as fragile as it was powerful. Roy exclaimed that it was the kids, and he looked stupid in his surprise. Renfrew cursed Dearborn as the gun in his hand fired only a single time. Jonas saw Dearborn's sombrero rise from his head.
Hat watch.
Hat
watch.
It doesn't count here, but
he's wearing a sombrero.
Then the kid was the kid was firing, and he was good, better than anyone Jonas had ever seen in his life. Renfrew was hammered out of his saddle, his gun firing worthlessly into the sky twice as he fell dead. Langell's hand dropped from the stock of the speed shooter, and he stared in unbelief and cried for the boys to get back in the name of the Horsemen's Association. Then a large black hole replaced his forehead.
I just realized how stupid that is of him. Just back in the name of the Horsemen's Association.
Yeah, no, it's
as they're massacring 25 other people.
Yeah, it's like, oh God, guys, let's stop here.
Oh. So the Horsemen's Association.
The Horsemen's Association.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Our bad. We surrender.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's just those funny times where, yeah, it's just like, it's like Austin Powers 3 times. Damn, 3 times. He has when he ends up answering the question if you ask 3 times. Like, it's that. It just
go to hell, Powers.
It just feels like that kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, suddenly it's in the name of the Horsemen's Association, so the boys are just going to
better give up.
Just going to call it off.
So I guess we better go home, boys.
Yep, let's pack it in. So I love that Jonas still doesn't know Roland's name. And also, this is a point of view from Jonas's perspective. So, like, it's going to be Will Dearborn. I just love that because, like, we're so late in the fucking story and he still has not learned his real name. He's asked him at least twice after they were arrested, but Roland has not given it to him. So it is still Will Dearborn. So
that is insane to think about, that we've come this far in the story and Jonas never figured out the truth.
David, we have a soundboard, and there's a number of clips that we basically have preset on there, and that's one that we just happen to have on there.
It is. It's mostly for the other show, but when Tad mentions the specific line
and the character,
you know, like that is absolutely going to get pressed by me. Just like every time I have you guys mentioned the snake.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I got Goro from Mortal Kombat ready to help me out.
Oh man. And then also what a perfect time to flip to Jonas's point of view in the middle of this battle too, right? Like King doing the famous thing. We've seen it throughout this story. I remember in the second book we got a lot of it where we were bouncing subchapters back and forth. Was it Leaning Tower at one point where there was literally like it was because it was the misfires. They were worried about the misfires. And it's like, pulled the trigger hoping it wasn't a misfire. Next subchapter, it was no misfire. Next subchapter, it was literally just like a few words. And then like with that, like, we saw a number of times with like the Detta and Odetta stuff too, where as we were flipping around in some of those like high tension moments, we were literally flipping from subchapter to subchapter because we were jumping from point of view to point of view. And what a perfect time in this battle to flip to a new point of view with this new subchapter and jump into Jonas's point of view. I don't know.
It is the perfect time to do it. Absolutely. And then I love that when Jonas recognizes the battle cry, that it is an old one, it's one from when he was training, basically is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's an ancient war cry, and it's one that he's like, oh, I know that. That's a gunslinger war cry.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I believe I'm fucked.
Yeah, but he does know that they're gunslingers.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Was it Rhea that said something, called them gunslingers, and Jonas is just like, no, there's no way, they're too young. But then, like in his mind, he's like, oh God, maybe they are.
He's like, oh God, is she right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the ball even entering his mind here, that's good for us.
Yeah.
Very, very good, because we've been debating that throughout the last couple episodes about potentially him underestimating the boys still, even after he said that he was never going to underestimate them again. He's repeatedly underestimated them.
Yep.
And then the ball is obviously throwing a whole new wild card into it, and it's kind of taking him off his game a bit. So yeah, here I think this is a perfect example in the heat of all things happening that his mind goes to the ball. Like, what the fuck does that matter to you right now, man? Like, you're about to fucking die. This shit, everything is going to shit, and you're thinking about that fucking thing? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and that's my note here. We asked if it would be a good or a bad thing for our boys of him having it. Here's the answer. Absolutely, like you just said. His mind goes to this instead of the battle, instead of drawing his gun.
Yeah.
Instead of how can I kill these brats, that's what he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it's the Smeagol drug thing for sure. And it's got his mind. And again, it's good for us because it's gonna help. It's helping our boys. So, and then Baraki says, to be fair, only one of them technically was. But they all had the skills. No, for sure. Yeah. And that's it was even Rhea that saw the three boys in the glass in the very beginning, of this book, or the backstory, because she's like, gunslingers, and she's like, no, they're all too young. It's like, well, the one in the middle does have a swagger about him. Like, that was kind of a read that she got, but she's like, he still looks too damn young. But there was something about Roland that, threw off the vibe a bit.
He actually did finish his trial against court and everything.
Yeah,
which means that he does give off that aura, that aura farming kind of thing that people are talking about. It's just like, you mentioned it earlier where he's like drawing the guns, I'm drawing the guns, drawing the guns. But they're in a battle. I don't think they're apprentices anymore. I think Cuthbert and Alain are full on gunslingers.
I think they're earning it right now. I don't know I don't know when the crowning happens, but I don't think they're at this very moment. But they're in the middle of their court battle as we speak.
Yeah.
So, and then Roland is better than anyone Jonas had ever seen. That's high praise.
He's been around the block a time or two, or 12.
Not only that, but he would have trained under Court's dad, so he would have seen whatever ability from them. He would have seen the ability of the gunslingers he was trained around. He would have seen the ability of the gunslingers that existed before him. So that this isn't like a throwaway thing. That's kind of that's a high praise for sure.
Absolutely.
And then so satisfying seeing so many of these people die. Just Langell, I mean, just so many of them. Like they're some of these people are just fucking awful human beings. So
yeah.
DePate began swearing at the boys as he tried to draw his revolver, but it caught in his serape. He was trying to free it when one of Roland's bullets opened his mouth in a red scream that nearly reached to his Adam's apple.
Ooh.
That's fun.
Blew his jaw off.
Yeah, and I hope we see it, man. There's too many horror and whatever type things that shy away from pure brutality like that. There's so many, even horror movies, where it's just like, come on, man.
We want some bone tomahawk action.
Yes, for sure. Jonas thought this can't be happening. There were too many of them to be bested by 3 boys, but it was happening. The boys struck at the fracture line, performing a textbook example of how gunslingers are supposed to attack when odds were bad, and Jonas's collection of ranchers, cowboys, and town tough boys had shattered. Those that were not dead were fleeing in every direction, spurring their horses as if 100 devils were chasing them. The boys were not 100, but they fought like 100. Bodies and dust scattered everywhere. Jonas saw Stockworth knock a man out of his saddle and put a bullet in his head, and he thought that was Croydon, the one that owned the piano ranch, or did own the piano ranch.
Whoops.
Roy down. You love to see it. Just a terrible person. So
absolutely.
Jonas recognizing that this is a textbook gunslinger strategy is kind of in this kind of situation. That's a good indicator that he's not that he's not thinking straight. If he knew how gunslingers would approach this, then how is he not prepared for it?
Yeah,
if there's a textbook thing, don't fucking fall for it, right? Like, just like you've been trained in the same things. Like, you should build your entire thing around that. But he's underestimated them. So I'm not cheering for him, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you said you weren't going to fucking underestimate them. What have you fucking done?
You're doing it.
You literally set your party up.
Did.
You set your party up to fall into the exact fucking trap that is textbook. Like, that's like, that's almost a way of saying it's the oldest trick in the book. And you fucking set your party up to fall for the oldest trick in the fucking book. Jesus Christ, man.
He hasn't exactly been on point today, has he? That's my note that I have
here.
No,
man.
He hasn't been.
And I feel like I'm frustrated, but it's like, again, I don't want him. I want him to be falling into these things, but it's like, it's frustrating because it's like, dude, you said you were not going to fall. Like, you know, you weren't going to underestimate these boys again. And here you are,
and
literally leaving. Like, it's like when you like read about like the Mongolian, like the you know, Genghis Khan type stuff. Like, the big thing that they would do is feign a retreat to lure people out of their encampment, right? They're out of their,
their defenses,
their you know, whatever it is, their castle, and they'd be, oh my God, they're on the run. Let's go chase them down and slaughter them. And it's like, but then it was always a trap where they were just luring them all out to a, you know, some sort of pincer move. And it's like,
also out into the open where their horses would be more of a factor.
And it's like, so, but then it happened one time. But then, like, the next con around and the next con, and it just keeps happening, and they all keep falling for it. And you're like, when you read about these, and it's like, why does everyone keep falling for this? 150 years ago, an entire fucking civilization was wiped out falling for this trick, and you're still falling for it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. It's like, come on, Jonas.
Yeah.
Come on. No wonder you failed.
He should know better. He should have done something differently.
Yeah.
But he was too distracted.
Yeah, and no wonder he failed his trial.
Yeah. Honestly, when it comes down to it,
yeah, he's and there's a lot of, I mean, I think King did a great job of building Jonas, because I don't think he ever felt like he never felt like you know, like that villain that just feels like they're just so easily set up to fall, right? Like, King has built him to be a very formidable opponent throughout this entire book. I think we've even mentioned that he compares it with some of the best villains we've seen in this book, in this series so far. But I think King did a great job of kind of putting some chinks in the armor and allowing them to feel so like natural and to progress in a natural way to where none of them feel like Deus Ex Machina, where it's like, oh, now suddenly he's got the ball and suddenly, like, no, like, this is built over time. Like, his confidence, we've seen the overconfidence slowly trickle in throughout this story. So
it's been there when he hasn't had the ball. And so when we see what the ball was and how the ball affected Rhea, we know that when the ball gets to Jonas, that he's already underestimated the boys before, swore he's never going to do it again, does it again.
Yeah.
Swore he's never going to do it again, does it again.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So the ball just heightens that. But it's not like the ball was some magical thing that came out of nowhere to weaken him.
It wasn't.
It was given its own proper story to show. Yeah,
it's danger.
It fucks with your head and everything like that. So 100% earned.
Yeah, so I think it's, so I'm just saying that King did it in a great way, because sometimes you just see villains that are built up to a point where it's just like, oh, you could see that they've got that one weakness that the hero is going to be able to exploit and win at the end. And I just don't think that he built Jonas that way. So the entire group is breaking in every direction, and that's just total fear and panic and chaos, right? That's just when the lines break. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And these aren't soldiers, right? That's the thing. Like, that now, if this had been John Farson's men, this may not have gone as well for our boys.
Well, it
but
depends on what Farson's been, because the ones they're talking about are out at Hanging Rock are boys who have never seen battles. So.
No, that's true, because they weren't very impressed with them.
Exactly.
But it's like, still though, they're probably at least people that have experienced something versus
kind of training,
versus like ranchers and like people that think they're hard asses, right?
Yeah.
Like, so ultimately,
Hookie's a blacksmith.
a blacksmith, yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
It's that 300 scene all over again. You, what is your profession? Potter. You, what is your profession? Poet. Spartans, what is your profession? Oh, it's just like they're only soldiers. That's what they do.
yeah,
These boys are only gunslingers. For 14 years, their life has been dedicated to being gunslingers, going against guys like Fran Langell, Renfrew, and Hookie, who grew up in Magus, occasionally maybe shooting a gun.
yeah,
That might be the first time Renfrew has ever shot a gun in his life.
yeah,
Langell and Hookie don't even get a shot off.
yeah.
That's how bad.
Nor does Roy,
you know,
So
or
that's
Roy
great.
even, and he's
Yeah.
a hard case and
and
everything.
he got
like
caught
that.
in his serape.
Exactly. That's something that should never have happened.
No,
right?
I guess he didn't
If
watch
they
the
were
Man with No
waiting
Name
for-
series.
If they were waiting for the boys and they were ready for an ambush, wouldn't you want like your gun? Like you check your gun, like is it ready? You know, and everything like
Yeah.
that. Hey, we're in World War I. We're on the line. Hey, the Germans, the Huns might be pushing today. You know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna put my gun out of arm's reach.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm gonna make sure that gun's loaded every like 5 minutes, just double checking it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Making sure that I'm ready, that when they start coming, I can start throwing lead their way.
Yeah.
None of them, not even Roy or Jonas, were ready for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about the group breaking in every direction in total fear. My note kind of ties in with that. I just wanted to bring it back around. A textbook of how a smaller force surprises and defeats a larger force. Don't wait and play defense. You're just going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Get the jump. Use surprise and swiftness to rout the enemy. Two perfect examples in Band of Brothers that always jump to my mind. There's the guns on D-Day, where a smaller force takes out a larger force, achieves their objective, and withdraws.
Yeah.
But the bigger one is the Dick Winters one in Holland.
Yeah.
They're out in the middle of a field. He realizes that they're outnumbered. There's a ferry crossing. There could be an entire division or company. I never remember which one's bigger.
Yeah.
Over there, and he says, well, the only thing we can do is fucking charge. That's all we can do. And so that's what they do. They fix bayonets and they charge the superior force. That's what Roland does here.
Yeah.
Ride them down.
Yeah. Indeed. So now Dearborn is bearing down on Jonas with guns drawn.
Oh, boy.
Jonas took the bag with the ball in it and held it out and called a threat that he would smash it if Roland came any closer. Roland never hesitated, never paused to think. His hands were all that thought, and when he remembered it later, it was distant and silent and queerly warped, like something seen in a flawed mirror, a wizard's glass. So there's the title of the book.
Ayo.
Jonas, and this is a direct quote from the book here. Jonas thought, "Gods, it's him. It's Arthur Eld himself, come to take me." And that's the end of the quote. The barrels of Roland's guns opened in his eyes like the entrance of a tunnel or a mine shaft, and he remembered what the brat had said to him previously. Another direct quote: "The soul of a man such as you can never leave the West." That's the end of the quote. He knew his caw had run out, but he would not risk the ball. He is the din of his quartet, and he can't risk it. He screamed for everyone to fall in on him, but there follow in on him. There were only three of them, but he was alone. Langell and Roy were dead. Quint fled. Hookie was dead. The ranchers were all gone. Only Clay was still alive, and he was miles away. He shrieked that he would smash it. Roland thumbed back his hammer and fired. The bullet hit the tattooed hand holding the bag, vaporizing it, leaving fingers to float in the air for a second and then fall down on their own.
That's going to look so good in slow motion, right?
Yeah, indeed. And hopefully get a replay, too. Just go back and replay it.
From every angle.
Yeah.
Oh, they do like the Matrix camera.
Yeah. I mean, it's hand trauma, so Flanagan will be all
Flanagan's
about
over here going,
Excellent. Yeah. The bag dropped, but Roland caught it in the crook of his arm. I just thought about, too, there's also a cat getting thrown into fire in this, so
There
he also
is.
likes to abuse cats.
he does.
Although he gets touchy about that one.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Like, it's in the Fall of the House of Usher. He's like, hey, the cat in my story lives. He's like, in the Poe story, it died, so. To hell with all
Stop
you
it.
guys. Yeah.
Stop it.
So Jonas cried out and tried to grab at Roland maniacally, telling Roland to give it back to him. It was his. Roland said not anymore and put 2 bullets in the blank in the put 2 bullets point blank in the face of Jonas. Jonas's horse ran away, taking the convulsing body with it. And my note: finally, Jonas is dead.
About time. Yay! I think that's apropos there, and we've already used a few sound bites. Let's go ahead and just
I mean it's a big moment for sure.
Right?
Finally, the motherfucker's dead. Yeah. Roland's future memory of this is being warped. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I didn't understand what you were meaning here for a second, and then I went back and I reread it again, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he is kind of like hazy, and and then the mention of
like a warped mirror,
and then the ball and everything like that, and it's
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
oh,
it's permeating. Yeah, indeed. I love Jonas seeing Arthur Eld coming to take him when he sees Roland riding down on him, and it kind of gave me the vibe of like, because he's a failed gunslinger. So I feel like with the failed gunslinger, I wonder if there's like a superstition about like, because essentially the gunslingers are all of the Eld, not necessarily they're born of the Eld by blood or whatever, but it's like the line of Arthur Eld is like the line of the gunslingers, right?
Yeah.
And so there's going to be an element of like, if you're a failed gunslinger, like you're disgraced, you're sent west, but it's like you're taking all of that ability and knowledge that you learned through your training with you. And like, so is there almost this like the Reaper will come to take its reward, take his prize at some point, where it's like you've lived your entire disgusting evil life off the back of the training of Arthur Eld, like, and at some point that's going to come due. And I just wonder if that's like a superstition, whatever, if that's just him seeing it in Roland.
I see it. Yeah, I don't imagine that. It always comes back to the question: how many failed gunslingers are there?
Yeah, and what a terrible setup system they have there.
One in 10, one in 5.
To train all these people and then send them out to just be fucking terrible human beings.
Yeah.
With all that training, that's just not a great way of going.
No.
But it could also just be not even a superstition thing. I'm completely guessing here. It could very well be though. He is actually seeing the line of Eld in Roland, which we saw. We've seen before, right? So.
David says, finally Jonas is dead, but damn, he was such a good villain.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Got to give him his flowers for sure.
And then my note here, Jonas, desperate to get the ball back despite everything. His hand's blown off.
Yeah.
He's facing 1v3 with one hand and everything.
Yeah.
Shows how quickly and deeply he is under its spell.
Yeah, indeed. And then Roland shit talking him entered his mind now as well. That has really thrown him off pretty much since it happened. And then you add the ball to it. Suddenly, a worthy enemy. This entire book is basically proven to be so flawed that he's hardly a challenge to dispatch. Because I think Roland's lying to him too. We haven't mentioned that yet, but let's not discredit that because there was a lot that threw him through a loop with that, right? So it's like the line. The ball, and then just underestimating the boys. All of those things have added up to this point where now that was an easy dispatch. This wasn't the grand,
showdown in the middle of the street. You draw, you scallywag. None of that. No, it came down to Roland shot him in the hand, took the ball, and then blew his head off.
Yeah,
like just like that.
I love it. Point blank too.
2 shots.
Gotta love that. Roland looped the drawstring over his shoulder and rode back to Cuthbert and Alain to give aid, but none was needed. The 2 boys' eyes were dazed. They had passed through the fire for the first time and had not been burned, and could not believe it. Only Alain had been wounded. A bullet had opened his cheek. He would carry that scar until his dying day, not remembering who had shot him or at what point in the battle. He had been lost in the battle. Cuthbert was the same. Bird greets Roland and says that they are alive. Roland agrees. Alain asked where the others went. Roland said they killed 25 of them, and the rest are in the wind. So what do they have, 30? So they killed
about 5 survivors.
They killed all but 5. That's wild. Roland slings the bag off his shoulder and opened it. Bert warned he should not play with it, especially now. They would have heard the shooting. Talking, of course, about the men at Hanging Rock, which is again the Farson men.
Yeah.
Roland ignored him and slipped his hand into the bag and lifted out the wizard's glass. He unknowingly smeared it with the blood of Jonas, but it didn't mind. It hadn't been the first time it had been touched with someone's blood. It flashed and swirled, and the pink opened like a curtain, and Roland saw what was in there and lost himself within it. And that is the end of the subchapter and the end of the episode. We'll have some spoilers to talk about here. So, what a
way to pick them, Tad.
Now, I will say also, we actually did wrap this with the chapter too. So this is the end of the chapter, not just the subchapter. So we have one chapter left, which is the last chapter we have for the entirety of Roland's story. Remember, we kept talking about the structure of this. You have 4 parts. Was it called? Yeah, 4 parts. The first part and the fourth part are modern day Roland, and the middle 2, which both had 10 subchapters, were the flashback stuff. We are now going to be entering next. I almost said tomorrow. In a fortnight from now, we're going to be entering chapter 10, which is our final chapter of the Roland backstory. So
of part 3.
Part 3, yeah. So my notes here. We have seen this. What this thing has done to Rhea and then to Jonas, and now it has Roland.
Yeah, and it didn't take long either.
No,
like it had its hooks in Rhea like the same night that she got it.
Yeah,
right before Susan got there. Jonas got the ball earlier this morning, and he was ready to give his life for it and smash it and everything like that. So
yeah. And then the days of the boys is understandable. Alain did not even know when he got shot. That's kind of a wild thing, right? But that's the heat of battle. That's the adrenaline and stuff like that. Like you're gonna, there's just like that. I mean, there's people that get into like high tension situations that aren't even battle that like then they just can't remember things properly. That's why like eyewitnesses are one of the worst possible things in a crime, because it's like, you can get 10 eyewitnesses that see the exact same thing and they all have the same view on it, and you're going to get 10 different stories of what happened.
I just remember a TV show playing off on that one time when I was watching it as a teenager. The guy's pretending to be a professor, and he's talking about how people don't pay attention and don't notice things. And someone walks on stage, and he's on the run from a government agency. So he pretends like, oh shit, and he like goes to run, and then someone comes from the other side. He's on stage like a theater stage. The guy comes out and shoots him 3 times. And he falls and everything. And everyone's like, oh my God. And it goes to the opening credits. And you're like, oh my God, the main character's dead. And then he pops back up and goes, hey, thanks to the veteran, theater students for putting on that performance. What did they look like? Oh, he was black. No, he was white. He was blonde. No, he was brown hair. And then finally, it was just like one person was able to be like, he was 6'3", he had brown hair, he wore a tweed jacket with a blue shirt underneath. And he's like, okay, see, that one person out of all 30 of you were able to give an accurate description.
Yeah.
That's always stuck in my mind with what you've told me and what I've seen about eyewitnesses. That's
Yeah. There's I've always heard that from like the realm of like attorneys and stuff. It's like there's nothing worse than an eyewitness, because like we all think that an eyewitness is going to be reliable, but they're just not reliable.
They witnessed it. They saw what happened.
But they're just not reliable, especially when it's a high stress circumstance.
Especially if someone gets in their ear and is like, are you sure this isn't what happened? I mean, we're seeing that in Welcome to Derry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, my last note, Bert's warning sets off another clock. All of the men at Hanging Rock would have heard the shooting and are now likely headed this way, and now Roland is in the grasp of the ball.
Yeah.
So what a ticking clock we've got now. Another fucking
clock.
God damn it. All right. So with that, we got a few more minutes. Let's go ahead and jump on over.
Warning. Spoilers ahead. Warning. Spoilers ahead. Warning. Spoilers ahead.
So we are now moving over to the spoiler section. Oops, there we go. I've been adding in the whole thing to where I can show the screen if it's ever needed. And I forgot that was, or actually it was funny because I had put it on this slide, but then it wasn't showing, and I'm like, okay, that's not working. So I just moved to another slide and forgot about it. Now I've come back to it, and of course it's working now that I don't want it to work. So, but yeah, we're now in the spoiler section. If you're watching, it got the red screen. So if you've not finished, I'm not going to even say the 7 primary books, because we're going to really talk about is the rest of this book. So if you haven't finished this book, though, if you're like reading along with us, God help you, because you are going to go through this series very slowly if you're pacing yourself with us. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So my note here,
huge thing. Huge.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep track of it, but I have not clocked it as well that Rhea hypnotized Cordelia. If she doesn't become more conscious in the next chapter, maybe that takes the slightest blame off of her for the Ch9 stuff. She's not blameless, but she's not really in total control of her faculties. So
absolutely.
Like we're gonna have to really watch that as we move into the next chapter, because like if she's like now the problem is though is she's already not mentally in a great spot. She was already kind of slipping, mentally, even when before Susan broke with her, she lost her mind on Susan with that last confrontation. So it's like, God, I don't know that I'm just because we've talked about we're going to re-examine we're never going to recall the vote. Like the vote is the vote.
March Insanity is
March
not,
Insanity
yeah,
2019. Rhea is the most hated character, but I just wanted to discuss at the end of this book club, the entire series of Wizard and Glass book clubs. I want to just rediscuss probably on a roundtable. If we were to re-vote on this now, what would we think? I almost want to have like a debate where it's like one of us will take each position and argue, because I really think that Cordelia may have got the short end of the stick in that vote because we weren't as fresh on it. But going through it freshly, man, I wonder if Cordelia is worse than Rhea. But now this throws a new wrinkle into it where it's like,
does.
Oh my God, maybe not.
Well, also, so I realized the same thing that she was hypnotized. I don't know how I've missed that every single time. I do believe she is under the spell, and Rhea is sapping her life force, and that's what kills her. We'll see if my hypothesis pans out, but if memory serves, and I haven't read book 4 for a while, if memory serves, Ch9 happens, and then when Roland comes out of it, they ask what happened to Cordelia, and he's like, yeah, she dropped dead. She just dropped dead. And I think that's Rhea. Okay, I'm back to, 15%. I can get by on my own again. Boom, I'm going to stop sapping it, and she's dead.
Yeah.
So I have that theory that Rhea is just sucking the life out of her and using her basically as a battery, because I have memories that Cordelia is just basically in a trance the entire time for Ch9. So
which maybe throws a wrinkle because maybe Rhea won legit then. I'm not going to say it's not legit. I'm just wondering if, having freshly read this, I just want to rediscuss it. And again, we're never going to change the vote, but I just want to discuss it as a kind of a debate topic. And I'm just saying that, if I were the one to get the Cordelia side of the debate, I would be very confident until this very moment where it's like, oh, fuck, is my argument faulty, now? Am I going to lose a large part of this in the sense of, like, not to say that she's not fucking terrible,
right? No, of course not.
But like this, if she is truly hypnotized through the rest of this next chapter, which we'll see as we go through it between now and I don't know how long it is until we're going to get through that. I want to say I may have actually plotted that out, but I don't know if I ever wrote it down anywhere. But yeah, because we're going to go through the rest of the book by April, but however long it takes us to get through chapter 10 is
since we're in the spoiler section, we can kind of map it out a little bit. What we have is Roland in the pink glass. He finally comes back out of it, or does he see Ch9 happen? It happens at nighttime, doesn't it? Ch9, it's dusk when they're bringing her back into town,
because he's deceived that she's not going to be harmed. Right. But
because he says to Cuthbert and Alain, if I believed for a second that she was going to be harmed, I would go now.
Yeah,
I would forget Hanging Rock and I would go to her. But he goes, and that's the pink ball lying to him.
Yeah,
the Wizard in Glass lying to him, which is what causes him the most pain. And then after Hanging Rock is when he realizes it. He has like an epiphany or a feeling or something, and he pulls back out the glass ball, and that's when the glass ball shows him, like, basically live, streaming the death of his beloved, love of his life and everything.
Yeah,
and so we also still have her escape from Seafront with Olive Thorin, her recapture on the road by Rhea and Reynolds, and then Ch9. So we still have quite a bit to go. So
yeah. I'm flipping through it now. So yeah, the December episode puts us definitely not. So I'm trying to see how long this chapter actually is. It's a long one. 22, 23, 24. This just keeps going. 27 subchapters.
We usually do about 6 to 7 an episode.
It depends on how long they are for sure. But yeah, no, it'll put us a good ways into 2026 before we get to even Ch9. But yeah, that's crazy. It's definitely coming. But yeah. Good stuff though.
David in the chat says Cordelia does die before the bonfire ends. That's what I thought. And then Baraki says, I think both answers are correct for different reasons. Which one's more evil?
Yeah.
I think there's a big thing that
I want to say it was like a 60-40 split on the vote though.
That's not far apart.
I think that should be like
it's not 90-10,
No,
kind of
but like I almost think this should be one where it's like a couple vote difference. Like it should be that tight.
Like Eddie and
Oy type. Because like if we're giving Cordelia the respect, but I do think a lot of her sins we lose when we're like not in this story. But when we're in this story, it's like, oh my fucking God, every time you turn around, it's like, Jesus Christ, this lady's terrible.
I think the big thing with Rhea is that if you're doing this as a boxing match, Cordelia's getting those jabs in the middle of the round, at the early parts of the round and everything like that. But then Rhea hits 2 haymakers right before the bell.
Yeah.
1, 2. Because you have Susan and Roland's mom.
Yeah.
Both of those are Rhea. And then the final uppercut is that
there's no
bitch survives. You know, there is no end to Rhea.
No, there is. We're just not shown it because Roland does say he did encounter her one more time, and you know she didn't survive that.
You don't know that.
There's no fucking way.
You don't know that?
Yeah, because Eddie asks, like, whatever happened? He's like, I ran into her one other time. And it's like, dude, there's no way he lets her.
Is that really what he's? I don't remember that. I remember him being like,
it's just vague though, where it's like, I want to see that because like it's like having the villain that you just don't get the comeuppance on, and it's like it's so fucking frustrating.
David says usually being hypnotized wouldn't make you do something that you wouldn't have already considered doing. That's true if you're talking about like our world hypnotizing.
But witches?
We're talking about a witch who's using potentially magic to drain her of her life force.
Yeah, but then
there's
again,
there's a lot
but
there.
Even here though, she asked her, even if it means killing her, she says yes, even if it means, and that's just
You're right.
That's just in the hypnotized state, so that's absolute truth there. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean, at this point, were we surprised that Cordelia is willing to kill Susan?
No, not at all. I mean, she killed her dad, or she was a complicit in the death of her dad.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, she's quite terrible.
She is.
It's quite terrible. But that is it for this episode. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the outro stuff. If you want to subscribe to us on any podcasting delivery of your choice, we'd appreciate that. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, all those fun places. You can find us over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. You can find us with our live streams here every fortnight. We'll be back again, in, like I said earlier, a fortnight from now. We're going to be back for another book club because of the year-end bash. The year-end bash is moved to the 19th, which is a Friday. And then we also have short content popping up on the old
mostly
YouTube
right now
stuff.
It's covering Welcome to Derry.
To Derry, yeah, a lot of stuff on that. So and then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. It's the hub for all things Dark Tower Palaver. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us and tell us all your loving sonnets to Urbot,
no,
Peter can tell you how to do that.
Don't do that. Best way to reach us for normal show topics, not disgusting ones, is show@darktowerpalaver.com. You can also find us on our social medias. We got Threads and Instagram. It's Dark Tower Palaver. Blue Sky is at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then our Twitter is at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then pick up some merchandise. tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. Get a hashtag Tad is terrible sticker.
You know what we need to do is design an RIP Ermot shirt.
No.
That's
No. 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 When I explain what Ermot is and why you're obsessed with it, Hayden will never design that for us.
Oh, thanks for the snake emoji in the chat. All right, and we will sign off as we always do by
Disgusting.
saying...
That's what we say every time when you bring up Ermot.
That's and with that, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Oi.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for being part of the conversation. It's always a blast. And yeah, we'll be back in a fortnight for the next round. We're going to dive into chapter 10. Can't wait. Yeah. It's a long ass chapter though. So there was like a slight part of us where like, are we going to get to Cherry Tree like right at the end of the year? Like that'd be a brutal year's end.
It's
but
not.
No, it'll probably be January, February probably would be my guess, somewhere in there.
Happy Valentine's
Oh wait, no,
Day.
not even that because we only have the one episode in January this next year, I believe, right? So
that's going to be
February is our first episode, so yeah, we're probably that doesn't make sense actually. I wonder if my whole thing was wrong about April because there's no way we only have February, March, and April. Three book clubs left, so
yeah,
no, there's no way.
We always start with a round table too, so
yeah, there's no way. So I'll have to redo the calculation. I'll have that for the year-end bash because that's a round table, so we can do spoilers, and I'll redo it and make sure the percentages are right and give us a pretty good idea of what it looks like for 2026, which we will be starting Wolves the Kala in 2026 for sure. So
woo-hoo!
Yeah, Peter's very excited for that. So am I. It's a great book. So yeah, see you guys, and we will see you in a fortnight.
Bye everyone.